What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Konan is possessive of Naruto? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Lady Tsunade. Shizune called out. The busted blonde-haired woman spun her chair and faced her assistant. What is it, Shizune? He's back. The Hokage's eyes widened. Then what are you waiting for? Bring him in. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Shizune replied, as she left the office and went to go get the man that her master wanted to see. In the main streets of Konoha, the man that Tsunade was looking for was just walking around. He has wild spiky blonde hair, tanned skin with 3 whisker marks on each side of his face. Of course you all know whom I'm talking about, it's none other than Naruto. He was wearing a red coat with black flaming designs on the bottom of it and had a large summoning scroll on his back. The smell of hot fresh ramen was soaring through the air, and once it caught its target, Naruto came to a halt and inhaled the smell of it. He looked to his right and saw his favorite place to eat of all times, Ichiraku's ramen. His body started to move on its own since the smell of the ramen was basically dragging him over to the stand. Shortly after, his body stopped reacting on its own, and then he realized that he was standing in front of one of his favorite places, Ichiraku's ramen. He shook his head and walked in. Welcome customer, Tucci yelled, but once he saw who it was he resorted his volume. Hey Gramps, Naruto replied. Naruto, welcome back, what will it be today? The usual, he answered, as a big smile crept upon his face. Coming right up, Tucci said, as he made his way to the back. Hey Gramps, Naruto yelled so that he could hear him. Yes? Where's Ayame? Oh, she'll be here shortly. I'm sure she would be glad to see you. Oh, he crossed his arms and placed them on the counter, as he rested his head on them. Dad, I'm here, a feminine voice called out. Naruto shot up and spun in his chair to see the brunette girl that he had asked about earlier. The two of them were frozen, as they stared at one another. Ayame, Naruto nearly shouted a bit too loud. Naruto? She tilted her head a bit to realize the new appearance that he was wearing and then looked back up at his eyes, but she saw that usual big goofy smile of his before locking her gaze into his eyes. Naruto. She threw herself at him and wrapped her arms around him tightly. Naruto did the same and wrapped his arms around her waist. They both rested their foreheads against one another and looked each other in the eye. It's been some time since you've came and visit, Ayame said. Naruto chuckled slightly. I'm sorry. I've just been caught up with my training. So I heard. She leaned in closer to him, as her lips began to quiver. Both of them could feel their faces warm up due to the space between them closing slowly. Well, I see that you two have missed each other a lot. A shade of red appeared onto their faces and instantly darkened, as they turned to see Tucci behind the counter with Naruto's meal. The two separated themselves, as Ayame made her way to the back with a blush still shading her face. Naruto sat down trying to hide his blush from the old man. You know it's okay to do whatever you need with her in front of me. She is my daughter after all, and I'm happy that you two care for each other a lot. The shade of red on the boy's face darkened after hearing what the old man just said. Don't think that. Oh, calm down Naruto boy, I'm just messing with you, Tucci said, cutting Naruto off. Naruto simply nodded, still keeping his head down low, preventing the old man to see his blush. He grabbed a pair of chopsticks and started devouring his ramen. 20 minutes later, Naruto sat straight up taking a deep breath. So, how was it? Tucci asked. They were all good, Naruto said, as he rubbed his belly since he ended up eating 10 bowls. Tucci chuckled, as Ayame couldn't help but just giggle seeing how that Naruto hasn't changed at all when it comes to ramen. Naruto reached into his back pocket searching for his little frog wallet. Tucci and Ayame realized what he was doing till Tucci just smiled. Don't worry about it Naruto, it's on the house this time. Naruto shot his head back to face the two. Really? Yeah, you go off now. I'm sure your friends want to see you. Ah, thanks Gramps. He hopped off of his seat and instantly ran out of the stand. I thought that I would find you here, a feminine voice said. Naruto looked to his right and saw Shizune coming up to him. Hey Shizune. He smiled. Lady Tsunade wants to see you. Right now? Yes. Okay. Naruto and Shizune started making their way to the Hokage's office, but little did he know that something was waiting for him there. Just outside of Konoha, A group of shady characters all wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them were walking through the forest of Konoha. One of them had orange spiky hair with purple eyes resembling the Rinnegan. 5 others of the group had the same colored hair, but in different styles along with the same eyes. One of them had a mask that was orange with multiple layers and he had black spiky hair similar to the other 6. The last one had a womanly figure. She had shoulder-length blue hair with a large light blue flower in her hair. She had amber-colored eyes with marine eyeshadow. We're just about there, the masked character said. Good, once we've captured the 9 tails, that just leaves the 8 tails. The orange spiky-haired figure replied. Yeah, but he'll be more of a problem since he can manage to control his Jinchuriki. The woman mentioned. That would be a problem. Even if we were to work as a team against it, we would still hardly manage to pull it off. And with Itachi gone, that just makes things worse. One other thing too, the host of the 8 tails brother is the Raikage, which makes it even more difficult. Then once we capture the 9 tails, we'll just use it against the 8 tails. Once we've captured the 8 tails and take it, we'll then take the 9 tails after. The masked figure mentioned. Wouldn't that be too much? Jinchuriki against Jinchuriki? The woman asked. Well, there's 2 possible ways. It could lead to the destruction of the Cloud Village if those 2 end up fighting with their all. If it does, then the Raikage will have no choice but to jump in and try to bring them down, which will lead to his death, making our job much easier. If that doesn't turn out like that, then that'll mean that the 8 tails and the Raikage will work together to kill the 9 tails. Either way, those 2 will end up tiring themselves out and that's when we come in. Well, now that you mention something like that, we can use the 9 tails for some other purposes. What are you thinking of? The masked one asked. Well, we could have it take care of Kabuto since he's starting to pick up Orochimaru's traits and also have it take care of Danzo for us. I guess that'll work, but there's one problem, Madara. Pain said. And what is that? The 9 tails has been searching for Sasuke Uchiha ever since his departure of the Leaf Village. When we bring the 9 tails in, what should we do with Sasuke? I say we just keep them from seeing each other and not let them know that the other one is here. No, Konan, I have a better idea. Madara said, as an evil grin crept upon him behind his mask. Tsunade was standing behind her desk looking out the window and watched everyone just roaming around the village. A knock was heard at the door, which quickly drew her attention away from the window. Come in. The door opened to reveal Shizune with Naruto right behind her. Once Shizune shifted to the side, Naruto could see that Tsunade wasn't the only one in the room. Instead, he saw most of his friends in here. His eyes widened seeing how he was having a big welcome coming from them. Welcome back, Naruto. They all shouted, as they all crowded around him. Whoa, I was only gone for about a month. There's no need for a big welcome. He tried to protest against them, but was overpowered. He felt a tug on his coat and looked to his left to see Ino staring at it. What's with the coat? She asked. Yeah, what's with this new look all of a sudden? Shikamaru asked. It was just a part of my training. Naruto looked around and realized that Sakura wasn't even here. It was shocking since she would always be there for whenever he would return from wherever it was he went to. Where's Sakura? He asked. Everyone just grinned seeing how he was mainly wondering where she was. Why do you ask? Ino asked. A blush came upon his face. Naruto. Everyone smiled and backed up from him, as he turned around to see Sakura standing at the door. Sakura. She walked up to him and just when she got close enough, she instantly wrapped her arms around him tightly. They both rested their chins on each other's shoulder. Naruto's eyes were widened from her sudden action. It was rare for her to do this to him and it would always throw him completely off guard. I missed you. Naruto. I missed. Lady Hokage. Everyone turned their attention to the doorway and saw an Anbu standing there breathing heavily. What is it? We have intruders, Lady Hokage. It's the Akatsuki. Everyone's eyes shot wide. I'm going. This will give me a chance to test my new training. Naruto said, as he gently moved Sakura away from him. I'll come too, Shikamaru said, as he ran after him. Lady Tsunade? Sakura asked, as they all turned to face her. Let's go. Naruto. Wait up, Shikamaru shouted. Naruto kept jumping from rooftop to rooftop, as the main entrance was just at his reach. He jumped off the last rooftop and down to the ground. Well, it looks like the 9 tails came to us instead. Naruto turned to the voice to see a group of 8. His eyes widened, not believing that there was so many. But then his brain just clicked on remembering what Jiraiya's message was. So, you must be the one who killed Jiraiya-sensei. Pain glared at him. Yes. Naruto gritted his teeth and kept holding himself back from recklessly charging in after them. But, we're not here to fight. What? Naruto asked. We came here to negotiate a little. You either come with us or this village will be completely obliterated. Madara said. Naruto's eyes remained wide, as his body then jumped on its own, slightly hearing that the village would be completely destroyed if he refused. Naruto. The Akatsuki members looked behind the Jinchuriki to see a few others joining in with him. They ignored them though and looked back at Naruto. So, what will it be? Naruto's friends looked at him, curious of what occurred before they could even get here. What are they talking about, Naruto? Shikamaru asked. Sadly though, his body didn't function and prevented him from answering his friends. However, his body slowly walked towards to the Madara and the others, but then stopped in the middle between them and his friends. This training turned out to be for nothing. I can't even protect them now. I can't even save Sasuke. He turned to face his friends with a sad and hurt expression on his face. It was starting to truly hurt him now, having to say goodbye forever to them and that he'll never see them again. Naruto. What are they talking about? Sakura shouted. Naruto. Lee shouted. Naruto, get over here. Tsunade yelled. Naruto closed his eyes and shook his head slowly. I don't want to be the reason of everyone's death. What are you talking about? Shikamaru asked. If I don't go with them, the village will be destroyed and I don't want to be the reason for that. Don't you dare go with them, Naruto. We can handle them, Tsunade shouted. Madara chuckled behind his mask. Tsunade, one of the legendary Sannin. Apparently you don't know who I am. The masked person walked forward and stopped next to Naruto, while placing his hand on the boy's shoulder. I don't care who you are. You're not taking Naruto. Madara just sighed. I guess this mask is always trouble to people who don't know who I really am. However, your village wouldn't stand a chance against me alone. Who are you then? Tsunade asked. Madara Uchiha. Tsunade's body took a step back on its own, as her eyes widened. Wait, you can't be him, he's dead. Oh? Madara grabbed his mask and simply removed it to show his face. Tsunade's eyes widened, seeing those Sharingan eyes and his black spiky hair. Anyway, we'll be on our way. Madara went behind Naruto and elbowed him on the pressure point of his neck, which knocked him unconscious. He quickly picked Naruto up and threw him over his shoulder. He turned his back to the Leaf Village and walked over to his teammates. Let's go. And in a flash, they all vanished. Sakura dropped to her knees and remained looking where Naruto last stood before he was gone. Tears escaped her eyes and slowly slid down her cheeks. Ino could see how much Sakura was really hurting and decided to sit down next to her. Sakura, I know how you feel and I feel the same way too, but we can't help it. He left on his own to save us. We need to warn the other villages and the council. Tsunade mentioned. Deep within Konoha Forest, the Akatsuki decided to come to a halt for a brief second to rest a little. I want you to take Naruto in with you. Madara said. What for? Pain asked. Because I have a lot of things to take care of on my own. And plus, there should be a room for him to stay there. Not exactly, we've only kept 3 rooms and that's it. You should know one's for Nagato and another one's for the 6 of us. And the last one's for Konan. I see. Well, he's still going with you. Fine, but don't expect him to end up staying inside. I may just have him stay outside as if he was a dog. Whatever, but one other thing. Tomorrow, I want you to tell him that he's a part of us now. All right. Madara tossed Naruto's unconscious body over to Pain, in which he placed the boy's body over his own shoulder. Get going, Madara ordered, in which they all vanished, going their own separate ways. Location: Rain Village, Nagato's base. Konan and the 6 Paths came to the main room of their base, as the main leader of the 6 Paths tossed Naruto onto the floor. A pair of eyes opened slowly, but the vision was blurry at first. Once they opened to its full potential, they could see 6 people with orange hair, but with different styles for each of them. They shifted to the side to see a woman with them too. Once the owner of those pair of eyes finally remembered, he sat straight up and realized that they were the Akatsuki. Naruto looked around to realize that there was furniture all around the place. He was confused at this since he thought that they were going to extract the 9 tails from him and leave him behind to lie there dead. Apparently he thought wrong, as he shook his head to erase the thoughts. Where am I? You don't need to worry about that. Pain answered, "Why am I alive? I thought that you were going to take the fox out of me, leaving me dead?" "Not quite, the leader wants you alive. I'd rather just die." Pain just chuckled, "That's what I thought as well." He thought, "Pain, it's getting late." Konan mentioned, "Yeah, you're right." Him and the other 5 walked out of the main room and down the hall, leaving the 2 behind. Konan just watched them leave and then turned to face Naruto, who was getting up to his feet. "It's best you get some rest. You'll need it for tomorrow," she mentioned, as she turned her back to him and walked off. "Hey, wait, where am I supposed to sleep?" Konan stopped and turned to face him. "Don't expect me to let him stay inside. I may just let him stay outside as if he was a dog." After remembering what Pain had mentioned earlier to Madara, she started to feel a little bad that he would have to end up outside. "You can stay with me," she said. Naruto's body jumped, as a dark crimson shade came upon his face. What? Konan rolled her eyes. "I said you can stay with me in my room." "Are you sure?" Konan shook her head, having to see what he was really thinking. "Are you coming or not? If not, you can just stay outside." Okay." He walked over to her, as she walked off slightly ahead of him so that he could follow. Konan, right, why are you being nice to me? Let's just say, what I heard of where you would have slept just sounded a bit too much. Where was I going to be if I didn't come with you? Outside when it never stops raining. Never stops raining. He stopped, which caused Konan to turn to face him. "So, that means we're in the rain village?" "Yes, I see, so I am far away from my village." Konan rolled her eyes again, since she was getting tired of the delays to reach her room, since she was getting tired enough as it is. She quickly grabbed his hand and made him walk with her at a fast pace. Naruto's steps couldn't keep up with her since she practically caught him off guard. Shortly, his next step gave out on him and caused him to trip and fall. However, Konan didn't let that stop her, and now she was practically dragging him to her room. "Hey, ouch, carpet burn, carpet burn." Konan just kept dragging the boy, and since he couldn't see her face, she simply giggled slightly at him. Finally, after what seemed forever, they reached Konan's room. She stopped in front of the door and let go of Naruto's hand, which caused the rest of his body to fall, but ended up falling face first. She turned the knob and gently pushed the door open. She turned around and looked down at the boy. "Do you plan on staying there overnight?" Naruto rose the same arm up that Konan had held to bring him here and then quickly got back up to his feet. "Sorry." She grabbed him by the hand again and led him into her room. She then closed the door behind them and locked it. She looked at Naruto, who was just examining her room. It was as if it was a master's bedroom. The walls were painted blue like her hair. The bed was a king size, but looked like it could be even bigger. To the side of him, there were 2 other rooms. One was the bathroom, and then the one right next to it was none other than the closet. He looked to his left to see a massive window with blue curtains and white flower designs on them. Below the bottom part of the window was a plain white window seat. "Wow," was all he could say. "I'm going to go change," she said, as she walked to the closet. She pulled the door once she was in, but little did she know that the door didn't close all the way. Naruto took a couple steps forward, just taking in the look of her room. He wasn't used to anything like this. Usually the only time he had been in a room like this was if Yamato built it with his wood style. He looked to his right and saw Konan unzipping her cloak. His face was completely red once she removed her cloak. Underneath her cloak was a scanty robe with a large hemline on the front, which exposed her arms, her back, the lateral part of her, and her belly. Naruto then pinched his nose to prevent himself from having a nosebleed and instantly shut his eyes tight. His instincts took over though, as his eyes opened slowly and saw that Konan was down to her undergarments, which consisted of a purple-colored bra and Brazilian thong, which showed her incredible buttocks curves. Naruto's eyes widened at the sight, as he couldn't take it anymore. Blood started to leak out of his nose, as he then quickly ran to the bathroom. Once he got to his destination, his eyes shot wide open. The sight he was seeing was amazing. The bathroom was incredibly huge. To his left there was a long countertop with 2 sinks and a mirror in front of it. At the end of the long countertop was the tiole itself. Then, to his right was a glass window square-shaped shower. It was big enough to fit about 5 people inside. Followed up was a bathtub with a few switches that could turn it into a jacuzzi. Wow! Suddenly, his nose stopped bleeding, as he walked in more and looked around. He decided to stop next to the tub and wondered if Konan would let him relax in it, But then dirty thoughts of him and Konan came upon his mind. He was imagining Konan on top of him, while their bodies were under the warm and soothing water with only their heads out of it. He was picturing Konan on top of him and kissing him wildly, while riding him at the same time. Of course these thoughts would get to him after seeing and hearing what pervy sage would usually do around woman. Slowly, that has started picking up on him, taking it after his master. "What are you doing?" Naruto nearly jumped, as he turned around to see Konan standing there in a small purple tank top that showed her belly. She also wore a pair of purple short shorts that nearly hugged her frame and showed off her curves. His eyes were completely wide, as his face started to heat up. He instantly turned his back to her. "I'm just looking around." Konan rolled her eyes and turned her back to him. As she walked out of the bathroom, "It's best you get to bed." Naruto turned around to realize that she was back in her room and getting in bed. He decided to finally leave the bathroom and back to her room. He looked around realizing that there was nowhere for him to sleep. Where am I supposed to sleep? Oh, right. Konan got back out of bed and went back to the closet. Shortly after, she came back out with a few blankets that were folded up. She stopped next to him and looked at him. "Here." She tossed the blankets at him, which caused him to take a step back once he caught them. "Thanks." Konan went back to her bed and just sat there waiting on him to finish. Naruto unfolded the first blanket a couple of times and laid it on the ground. It was thick enough to give him something comfortable to lay on. He unfolded the next one, but decided to use it as covers. Once finished, he looked down at it and was thinking that something was missing. Konan just looked at him wondering if he was that dumb knowing that he was missing a pillow. She grabbed the pillow that was next to her and chunked it at him, which ended up hitting him on the head and caused him to fall on his side. Naruto just lied there with the pillow covering his head. Konan saw what the hit caused and couldn't help but giggle slightly. Finally, Naruto grabbed the pillow and moved it to the end of his little pallet. "Are you finished down there?" Konan asked. Naruto got back up to his feet, not looking in her direction. "Yeah." Konan smiled, finally being able to get some sleep, but just as she reached for the lamp, she saw him unzipping his jacket. He then withdrew his arms from the sleeves and tossed his jacket to the side. Next, he grabbed the bottom of his black shirt and quickly removed it and tossed it with his jacket. Konan's face was the one to heat up this time after seeing his well-muscular toned figure. After all that training he's been going through all the years had really had an effect on him. Will you look at that?" Konan's inner self started talking. "Shut it. Just look at him, that amazing body of his is worth keeping him alive after all. Just imagine what he would look like with no clothing at all." Konan's face warmed up even more. "I said shut it. I wonder how big he is. I'm out." Konan then left her mind, not wanting to hear what her inner self had to say anymore. She shook her head to clear her thoughts and looked back at Naruto. Her face was now completely red since Naruto was just standing there in his boxers. Naruto now laid himself down on his pallet and pulled the sheets over him. He folded his arms behind his head and lied down against his pillow, while looking up at the ceiling. Since he was now out of Konan's sight, she decided to reach for the lamp and turned it off. She recovered back into her bed and rested her head on her pillow. Naruto, on the other hand, just lied there staring at where the ceiling would be. "I'm sorry everyone, I failed to find peace." A single tear slowly slid down his cheek. "I especially failed you. Pervy sage," he whispered to himself, but Konan heard every word and felt terrible for him. It made her feel that way after all. Jiraiya was her sensei too, but not just her, Nagato and Yahiko as well. It especially hurt her more when she helped Pain kill their sensei. She remembered how that Jiraiya was seeking peace for the world and passed it down to Nagato that day. Now, since she heard that he had passed it down to Naruto, it was just sad to hear. She knew it couldn't be helped and closed her eyes, as she drifted off into a slumber. Morning. Konan kept tossing around in her bed due to her emotions getting all mixed up. On one side, she was feeling satisfied and proud that they finally captured the Nine Tails. However, she was also feeling sad for the boy since they took him from his village and that he failed Jiraiya's promise that was set to him. She couldn't take it anymore and just sat straight up. Removing the sheets off herself, she then turned herself and planted her feet on the ground. She got out of bed and walked to the front of her bed to see that the blonde-haired boy was still asleep. A smile formed on her face, as she sat down on her knees behind his pillow. She lowered her upper body and positioned her face just above his, nearly a couple inches from his. A groan came from the boy as his body turned side to side, but then went back to lying on his back. His eyes slowly opened and could see that there was something in front of his sight. He couldn't quite tell since his eyes were still blurry, as his eyes were trying to adjust themselves. Shortly after, his sight came into focus and could see Konan's face right there just nearly touching his. His eyes shot wide open and his body shot itself up on its own. Konan's eyes widened seeing how when Naruto's body shot himself up caused him to plant his lips onto hers. Their faces were completely red from Naruto's contact, but their minds were completely off, forgetting that they were still kissing each other. After what seemed like a long time, Naruto pulled himself away and lay his head back down on the pillow. They were still beet red, but Konan was too into it and was disappointed he pulled away. "I'm sorry," he said. "Don't be." A knock came at her door. "Konan, is the Nine Tails in there with you?" Pain shouted. Konan rolled her eyes and got back up to her feet. "Yes." "Get ready and bring him with you when you're done. I'll be waiting here." "All right." Naruto looked up at her, curious of what they were going to do with him. Konan looked down at him. "Get dressed." I need a shirt." Konan thought for a second, but remembered that today would be when they welcome him to the organization. "You won't need it, just put some pants on." She made her way to the closet, getting another set of clothing. Naruto tossed the sheets off him and got up to his feet. He grabbed the same pair of pants that he wore yesterday and quickly put them on. He decided to sit on the foot of Konan's bed and waited for her. After a short period of time, Konan came out of the closet with her Akatsuki cloak on. She looked over at Naruto, and just as she did, her face started to heat up. No matter how many times she would always see him without his shirt on, it always would make her blush. Just look at him. Sitting on your bed with no shirt on. Just go over there and take him, drive him crazy over you. Would you shut up? Konan's inner self couldn't help but laugh. "Don't worry, when the time comes, I'll take over and just eat him up for you." Konan left her mind and shook her head. "Let's go," she said, as she stopped in front of the door. Naruto nodded and walked up to her. Once she opened the door, Pain, the main one out of the six, was right there on the other side with an Akatsuki cloak in his hand. Konan held the door open, as Naruto walked out first and the Konan right behind him. She closed the door and decided to lean against it. "Here," Pain said, as he tossed the cloak at Naruto. The blonde-haired boy caught it and looked at Pain curiously. "I'll explain," Konan said, while Naruto turned to face her. "We decided to let you live, but you had to become one of us." Naruto remained silent, but didn't have anything against it. He bowed his head and slid his arms through the sleeves. He grabbed the zipper of the cloak and zipped it up to cover his entire body. Lifting his head, he looked at Konan and then turned around to face Pain. "Good. Now, today you'll go on your first mission alone." "What's the mission?" "Your mission is to bring me the 8 tails." Naruto's eyes widened after hearing that he would have to end up fighting a fellow Jinchuriki. "And don't fail like Pain," Konan shouted. Naruto turned to face her, curious of what was with the sudden outburst. "Oh, right. Just don't fail." Naruto turned back around to face him. "Where exactly is the 8 tails?" "The hidden cloud village. But don't worry about the travel there." Pain reached into his cloak's pocket and pulled out a slip of paper. "This will take you to the village." "How will that take me to the village?" Madara was the one who created it by adding his teleportation jutsu into it so that we could use it for easy traveling. "I see, but why'd I have to do it alone?" "Doesn't the Akatsuki work in a pair?" "Yes, but you can simply measure out against the 8 tails since you possess the 9 tails." "I see, I'm just basically being used." Pain grinned. "Yes." Konan on the other hand didn't like hearing that. Her eyes softened, feeling bad for the boy. Suddenly, a great big flash appeared. She looked at where it came from and realized that it was the slip of paper that Pain had gave to Naruto. Once the flash died down, Naruto was gone. "Nagato, are you sure he can handle on his own?" Konan asked. "Of course, after all, he has the most powerful Jinchuriki out of them all." Location: Cloud Village. A bright flash appeared just above a building, and within it, a body came falling out of it. The flash cleared to reveal Naruto standing on top of the building. Completely unaware of him, he was standing on top of the Raikage's building. Inside, Raikage. The tall, dark-skinned man rose out of his seat. He was a massive figure with a large muscular build, Slicked back white hair, a small mustache and beard. His top lip also has a darker hue than the bottom one. There's an intruder in the village. Darui said. What? Who is it? It's the Akatsuki. Whaat? Where? Darui looked up at the ceiling, and when he did, the Raikage jumped up, breaking through it, and made his way to the roof. Back outside, Naruto stood on top of the building with his arms crossed and looked down at the water and other buildings that were scattered throughout the village. So, this is the Cloud Village. I wonder where the 8 tails that Pain was talking about is. Naruto scanned the view before him and then closed his eyes. He shot his eyes open and revealed his sage mode. He had yellow irises, horizontal bar-like pupils, and the reddish-orange pigment mark of a true sage on each eye. Where could you be? He scanned more to the left and picked up a massive amount of chakra behind a couple of mountains. Found you. Just as he was about to take off toward the location of that chakra, the roof busted to chunks. He turned around to see the Raikage coming up from inside the building. Naruto could see the hatred and killing instinct in his face. The Raikage growled out in anger and charged at Naruto. I won't let you Akatsuki take my brother. Naruto quickly jumped back a bit, as the Raikage slammed his fist on the roof, which caused another hole to appear. Naruto looked around and couldn't find the Raikage anywhere due to the dust cloud from the collision. He took a step back, but could feel that half of his foot didn't land on anything. He looked back and saw that he was standing at the edge of the roof. Down below where he was standing is narrow river paths with a lot of mountains all over the place. I have you now, Akatsuki scum. Naruto looked back and saw the Raikage coming right at him. Something was different though, his whole body was as if he was wearing lightning armor. Naruto just grinned and took one last step back. The Raikage gasped and stopped his attack, as he realized that step that Naruto took caused him to fall off the building. He walked to the edge and looked down to realize that he was nowhere to be seen. Damn it, elsewhere. Naruto was running on the water heading over to where his senses told him where exactly the 8 tails is. I should be? A giant tentacle came from around a mountain and slammed down at the water in front of Naruto. The blonde-haired boy immediately stopped and just stood there watching the tentacles slowly sink into the water. He looked up to see a giant octopus come around the mountain. It was brown with wide white-colored eyes and the octopus was incredibly huge. Yo, I knew that I sensed someone. And to think that it would be the Akatsuki, I knew you would come. The giant octopus said. So, you're the 8 tails? Naruto asked. Yeah, I see. You need to come with me. Like hell I will. The octopus swung one of its tentacles at the blonde-haired boy. Naruto simply dodged it and smirked. I think it's funny to see you in your 8 tails state to fight me. Why not start in a normal fight? Fine. The octopus reverted back into its original form. He was a dark-skinned figure possessing a muscular build, as well as white hair and a goatee. He also wore a pair of oval-shaped sunglasses and a white-colored forehead protector. He also wears a white-colored one-strap over one-shoulder flak jacket, with a red rope tied around his waist. He also wore hand and shin guards, shinobi sandals, a white scarf around his neck, and had 2 swords attached to his back. The name's Killer Bee. The blonde-haired boy just smirked. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Killer Bee mimicked the boy with his own smirk and charged at Naruto with incredible speed. Naruto's head twitched to the sudden movement from Bee. Bee appeared behind the blonde-haired boy, but Naruto sensed it and spun around to block a punch from the silver-haired man. Bee then back-flipped and once he landed on his feet, he shot himself as if he was bullet being shot from a gun right at him. Naruto's eyes shot wide open, as Bee held his fist just inches away from the boy's face. Location: Leaf Village. Lady Tsunade. Shizune called out, as she came running into the office. What is it? The busted blonde woman asked. Shizune stopped in front of Tsunade's desk and held out a letter. Tsunade took the letter, as she opened it and began reading it. After a short time passed, her eyes widened once she saw what it was about. What is it, Lady Tsunade? There's a meeting requiring all 5 cages at the Land of Iron. What for? It's about the Akatsuki. One of the mountains around the area of where the 2 Jinchurikis are fighting collapsed due to Naruto being slammed against it. You damn Akatsuki scum will die here. Bee yelled, as he charged at where Naruto is. Naruto came out of the crater that was created in the mountain by him and rubbed his head. He then looked up to see Bee with red chakra forming around him. Once the chakra became stable, he was now in the Jinchuriki's cloak. B then slammed his fist against Naruto's cheek, causing him to go straight through the chunks of the collapsing mountain and straight into the water. Naruto reacted quickly, pulled himself together and swam back for the surface. However, a tentacle wrapped around his body and kept him from swimming any further. He looked down to see a giant ox-like octopus below him. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a kunai and stabbed the tentacle. Sadly though, it was no good, as the octopus squeezed harder around the blonde-haired boy. "There's no escape, you scum!" the giant octopus shouted and squeezed harder. Naruto was struggling and holding onto his breath, trying to break free. When it came to the point he couldn't hold his breath any longer, he let out his last breath as his body went limp. "You're pathetic, kid. Is this all you have? Stay out of this, fox. No, you're done. You're facing the 8 tails and it's just making me all jumpy about it. I'm taking over." Naruto's eyes shot open, but they weren't his normal blue eyes, but instead they were red. His body was being surrounded by an enormous amount and yet out of control red chakra. His skin shattered off his body to reveal that he was now completely covered in his blood mixed with the Jinchuriki's chakra and showed 4 tails. "Yo, what is this?" the giant octopus asked. The miniature 9 tails fox lifted its head and let out deep and loud growl. It quickly withdrew its arm and swung down, cutting the tentacle in half. The miniature fox wrapped its arms and legs to its body. It then separated them and released a powerful shockwave, which caused the water to split open. "Damn it!" the octopus shouted. The 4-tailed fox launched itself to the air, as the ox-like octopus resorted itself on top of the water. B looked up to see the miniature fox diving straight down after him. He attempted to grab it with his tentacles, but the fox ended up slicing a couple of them into pieces. Shit! The fox was closing in quickly, but a dark figure appeared in front of it with his body surrounded by lightning. He punched the fox smack across the face to send it flying back into a mountain. B looked closely and realized who it was. "Brother. This is no time for chatting, B. We need to take that Akatsuki scum out." A shouted. They both turned their attention to the mountain and saw the fox coming out slowly. However, the fox was getting mad and released another shockwave of its chakra, which caused the mountain to crumble to pieces. B examined closely and realized something coming out of the fox's body. "Brother." "I know," A replied. What they were seeing was 2 more tails coming out of the fox's body, and that wasn't just it. The bones from its body began to form out of the intense chakra around its body, attached to the body with several thick chakra ligaments. However, green chakra started flowing out of its chest and began wrapping all over its body. "A seal?" B asked. The fox let out growls of annoyance, trying to break free from the green chakra. Instead, it reached into its chest to pull out the necklace that Naruto had won in a bet against Tsunade a few years back. It held up the necklace and glared at it, while letting out continuous low growls. Without wasting any more time, the fox instantly crushed the necklace into pieces. "He broke the seal?" I asked. The fox then lowered itself and slowly landed on top of the water with its tails waving around slowly. "Brother, he's coming," B shouted, as his tentacles started to regenerate. The Raikage decided to take action before it did and instantly charged after the fox. The Jinchuriki took a step and then vanished out of his sight. The Raikage came to a halt and scanned his surroundings. "Brother," B shouted, as it turned around to see the fox coming up to him. B quickly shot one of his tentacles at the fox and quickly wrapped it around the fox. However, that didn't stop the 6-tailed form fox, as it sliced its way out of the grip. Instead of going after A, the fox turned to face the giant ox-like octopus and charged at it. B sent 2 more of his tentacles at the fox and wrapped them around the fox. The fox struggled trying to break free, but then it stopped and just glared at the ox-like octopus. It then opened its mouth and shot small chakra blasts right at the giant octopus. Gah! The blasts from the fox beast didn't quite hurt as much since B was remaining in his tailed beast form, but it did end up blinding his sight for a short time. "B!" A shouted. B looked around until his senses picked up and looked up to see the fox coming down at him. A quickly jumped up to the fox and kneed the fox, followed up by a powerful punch, which caused the fox to slam into another mountain. B turned his giant octopus form around and looked at where the fox was. He saw that the fox was coming out slowly and opened his giant ox-like mouth. "This is it, scum," B shouted, as he shot out a yellow chakra blast from his mouth. Right when the blast made impact on the fox, a massive explosion cleared the area of where it was. "Did it work?" I asked. They both kept their attention to where they last remember seeing the fox and waited for the smoke to clear. B looked even closer and saw red tail-shaped chakra waving around. Shortly though, more were becoming visible. 6. The smoke cleared. 8. Why is he changing so fast? B wondered. "B, we need to end this now." A shouted. "That's right, entrust your life with me and I'll easily take care of these two. I've already taken over. Now, let me have full access." The Kyuubi said. The seal that was on Naruto's stomach began to weaken. Naruto was just standing a few feet away from the front of the cage with his eyes completely red. Suddenly, his body started to move on its own and walk toward the cage. He stopped right in front of the cage, as the water started rising him up. Shortly after, the water stopped and Naruto was now in front of the seal that was placed on the cage. Naruto's right arm lifted up on its own and grabbed the top edge of the seal. "Yes, now peel it right off so I can have complete control." Naruto slowly peeled a small amount of it off till someone tackled him down back to the ground. Naruto shook his head and his eyes turned back into his normal blue ones. He looked up to see that he wasn't alone. He saw a bright blue-eyed and spiky blonde-haired man standing in front of him. He had jaw-length bangs framing either side of his face. He was wearing a standard Konan uniform with 2 bands each on both of his sleeves, a flak jacket, and a forehead protector. Over that, he wore a short-sleeved long white coat decorated by flames-like motifs on the edges. He saw that the man had his back facing Naruto and that the man was looking up at the glaring red eyes behind the cage. Naruto looked at his back and noticed the inscription on the back of his coat. Naruto's eyes widened once he finished reading, "You're the 4th Hokage?" Back with A and B. The two brothers remained where they were to see that the now 8-tailed form was coming right at them. The 8 tails form was just as big as the regular 9 tails. However, it had yet to reveal its skin and fur, but it basically only had its muscle tissue to be seen along with the 8 tails. The fox opened its mouth and shot several chakra blasts at the ox-like octopus. B didn't have enough time to dodge them all, as all the blasts made impact on him. "B!" A shouted, as he turned around to face the giant fox coming at them. The fox waved its head around and then focused down at A and shot several chakra blasts down at him. He quickly jumped up avoiding them all and looked to see what was in front of him, which was the fox. The fox bowed its head and then shot it up, which hit A and sent him flying back. The fox let out a loud growl, but then tentacles started wrap around the fox's body. The fox turned its head to see the 8 tails, B. The fox tried to make a run before it had a good grip on it, but B wrapped the rest of his tentacles around the fox's legs. The fox's tails whipped around and stroked at the octopus, but it didn't do much at all. B opened his large ox-like mouth and began to charge up another chakra blast. Suddenly there was a great big bright flash, which covered the fox. B stopped his attack. "What's going on? I'm pretty disappointed of you, son." The 4th Hokage said. "Son? Yes, I'm Minato Namikaze Uzumaki. You're, Wam." Naruto had just punched his father along the jawline with anger flowing through his mind. "My father. How come you sealed the 9 tails in me then? Do you even have any idea what I went through my young childhood years?" Minato rubbed his jaw and looked at his son. "Yes, I've watched through your very own eyes. Then how come you were never there for me? Why didn't you help me?" "Because, well, let me explain." Naruto gritted his teeth till his dad spoke. "The truth is I'm not really living. The day I sealed the 9 tails in you, I ended up sealing myself as well when it came to where you were losing control. And well, here I am and boy am I glad to be here. My son has really grown up just like me," Minato said, as he gave the same exact smile that Naruto would usually make. Naruto had nothing to say still. "But, there's one thing on my mind, son. I can see that you joined the Akatsuki. Why are you helping them?" "To protect the village and everyone I care about." Minato cupped his chin and rubbed it. "I see. You do realize though, since you're in the Akatsuki's hands, they'll just end up killing you once they achieve their goal." "But no, you said you're doing this to protect the village and yet, when the Akatsuki gets a hold of the remang-tailed beasts, the village will just suffer regardless. Naruto's eyes softened and his gaze turned to the ground. However, he was brought out of that phase, as he felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked up to see his father there looking at him with a serious expression. "Son, I'm glad to see that you've grown and became a fine man. But, you need to think about what you're doing here." Naruto looked at his father with the same expression he was getting from him, till he felt the urge to smile, in which he slowly did. "I will, Dad," he said with joy in his words. "Good, now." He was cut short when he realized that his son wrapped his arms around his father in a tight embrace. Minato just smiled and returned the hug, feeling happy that he actually got to see his son grow into a man after the years. Minato pulled himself away, which caused Naruto to. "I will replace the seal, but next time this happens, try your hardest to withstand it. Or, when the day comes, you could learn to control the Kyuubi's chakra and use it on your own will." Minato performed a few signs, and once he finished, his fingers were glowing with chakra. He placed his fingertips on the weakened seal that was on his son's stomach. He turned his fingers and closed the seal as if it was a doorknob. Once finished, there was now a newly formed seal on his stomach. Naruto looked down at the seal and smiled. He then looked back up to see that his father was gone. Instantly, tears escaped his eyes. "Thank you, Dad." Back to reality. B had lost his grip, seeing that he wasn't holding onto anything now, but he couldn't quite see due to the flash that had occurred. It didn't take long though, since the flash had disappeared and it revealed Naruto standing on the water in his normal form. He controlled the Nine Tails? B asked himself. Naruto was breathing heavily due to the significant damage from turning into the Nine Tails. Die. Naruto looked up to see B charging up another chakra blast. He turned around to try and make a run for it, but it was a few yards away from the boy. He held out his right arm, as lightning shot out toward Naruto and quickly surrounded the poor boy. Naruto looked around and realized that there was no escape from the lightning prison, but then he looked at the giant octopus to see that B was just about done. Which he was. He shot an enormous chakra blast from his mouth and right at Naruto. The blonde-haired boy was starting to panic, trying to figure a way to avoid the blast, because he knew that there was no way he could live if he took the blast. Then it struck him. He smiled and stopped the chakra flow in his feet that was keeping him standing on the water and let himself drop underwater. "Damn it!" A shouted. The blast that B shot ended up breaking through the lightning prison and went toward his brother. He easily dodged though and just turned to watch the blast end up hitting another mountain. B resorted back to his normal form and just stood there looking around for the blonde-haired boy. "Where did he go?" The Raikage shouted at his brother. "I don't know," B answered. From a far distance though, Naruto came out from under the water taking a deep breath due to how long he had to hold his breath underwater. He looked back to see the two guys looking around, but they were too far for them to realize him. He then added his chakra to his feet, as he climbed out of the water and stood on top of it. Naruto sighed in relief and then looked down at himself to realize that his cloak was torn in several spots. From his right shoulder to his left lung area, which revealed half of his well-toned chest, and his left sleeve was completely gone. A sharp pain came from his right shoulder and he quickly placed his left hand over it. He turned around to see that there was some land at a good distance from him. Without any complaining, he walked toward his destination. A few minutes later, Naruto took his first step on land and decided to keep going. Ahead of him, there was a forest with all sorts of creatures within it. However though, just as he was about to step inside the forest, he fell to his knees. His eyes shut close and he fell to the ground unconscious. A pair of amber-colored eyes looked down at the boy, as the person picked him up and disappeared in sheets of paper. Location: Konoha Village. Time skip. A week later. A lot of people within the Leaf Village have been acting completely different ever since Naruto was forced to leave the village and to go with the Akatsuki. Tsunade was sitting at her desk and had just finished her 7th bottle of sake. She tossed it to the ground with the rest of the bottles. Shizune was standing next to the door watching her master drinking like a mad woman. Sakura on the other hand has been ever so quiet since his dismissal. She was sitting on her bed and looking out her opened window. She really missed how he would always come to her and annoy her slightly. "Sakura-chan." She looked up at the sky, as a single tear escaped both of her eyes and slid down her cheeks, remembering how he sounded. Basically all of Naruto's closest friends have been acting the opposite lately. Back with Tsunade. Shizune. The raven-haired woman shot her head up and looked at her master. Go find Kakashi so we can start heading to the cage summit. Tsunade ordered. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Location: Rain Village. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and blinked off the blur in his vision. He leaned up, but his body forced him back down due to the pain from the 9 tails. You shouldn't move quite yet. Naruto tilted his head to the left and saw Konan standing next to the bed. How did you? Easy, I used one of the tags that Madara made. Naruto positioned his head back the way it was and stared up at the ceiling. Why did you come for me? Because Madara doesn't want you dead, yet. Naruto squinted his eyes due to the sharp pains that kept coming and going in abdominal area. You should rest up. Naruto opened his eyes ignoring the pain. Why do you care? A nerve struck the blue-haired woman. Look, I may be a member of the Akatsuki, but it doesn't mean that I don't care about others. Well, that's not how I see it. Hell, not even the other people living now see. Shut up. Naruto instantly turned to face Konan and was shocked from her sudden outburst. You have no idea who I really am. You don't know anything about me, nor do you know anything about how I am. So why don't you get to know the person more before you start judging? Naruto was completely wide-eyed hearing this from a member of the Akatsuki. No, you know what? I should have just left you outside and never offered you to stay here. But just leave. Konan, a sheet of paper covered his mouth to prevent him from speaking any further. Leave now or I'll blow you to pieces. Naruto crossed his eyes to see the paper covering his mouth had a symbol on it. He realized that it was an exploding paper bomb that she could make it go off at any time. He blinked slowly as he threw the covers off him. He leaned up, but the sharp pains struck him again. He instantly hovered his right hand over his abdominal area, trying to add a little pressure, hoping to reduce the pain. His eyes turned to look at her eyes. What he saw in her eyes was hatred, the kind of hatred that could get him killed. His body turned as his feet landed on the ground. He then brought himself up finally and walked to the door, while trying to withstand the pain. He grabbed the doorknob and turned it, which he pulled to open it. Without looking back at the blue-haired woman, he just walked out and gently pulled the door behind him, as it closed slightly, but not all the way. Naruto kept his attention to the ground, as he walked down the hallway. What did you do? Naruto immediately looked up to see the leader of the 6 pains standing in front of him. I did nothing. If you hurt her at all, I will kill you where you stand. Naruto looked back down at the ground and walked past him. Since you're going where you belong, don't even think about escaping the village. Naruto stopped in his path, shocked to think that he would guess of what he was thinking. No matter how hard you try to escape this village, I'll always track you down within a second. After his ears absorbed hearing what he had to say, he continued walking down the hall to find the exit door that would lead him outside. Pain opened the door that led inside Konan's room and saw that she was standing next to her bed. What did that monster do to you? Konan looked to the source of the voice and saw Pain standing at her door. It's nothing, don't worry about it. Pain then looked back out the door and down the hall to see that the blonde-haired boy was completely gone. He then looked back at Konan. All right then, he'll just stay outside like we discussed. That's fine. By now, Naruto was outside and saw that it was still raining. He continued to walk since there was only one way to go, since there was a bridge right there when he left the base. He didn't go far though. He stopped in the middle of the bridge and turned to face the railing. He walked over to it and leaned over it, as he looked down at the water. No matter how hard you try to escape, there's no way out. He sighed, but then he saw some white hair floating on the water. Hair? He asked himself. Naruto. The blonde-haired boy to the source of the voice and saw Madara. I have something for you to do. What is it? Naruto hissed. I want you to go to the land of iron and spy in on the cage meeting. Cage meeting? Yes, it's when all 5 cages gather up and discuss at what's going on. However, I sent a team there to help back you up in case anything happens. All right. And just a warning, you may end up in a fight with the cages. I'm aware of that. Wait, why am I agreeing to doing this so easily? Naruto thought. Good. All of a sudden, Naruto's body started to twist as if he was being absorbed into a portal and was gone within a second. Madara grinned behind his mask. I just hope he doesn't run into Sasuke while he's there. The air in one of the hallways of the cage's summit started to twist and spin open. Just then, Naruto came out from the portal and landed on his feet, as the portal vanished. He carefully examined where he was and sensed that no one was close by. I wonder where the team is that Madara mentioned. He said to himself, as he walked down the hallway. So it's settled. Naruto looked around to try and pinpoint where the voice came from and then saw that it was in a room that was just a couple of yards from him. He quietly walked to the door and hid his chakra to make sure that he couldn't be sensed. He leaned to his side a bit and looked through the corner of his eyes and saw all the cages gathered together. He only knew Gaara, Tsunade, and since he had a fight with him not too long ago. However, the other two were unfamiliar with him. One of them was an old man with a size of 1.5 times his headpiece. He had facial features that include a triangular beard and a mustache with angular corners. He has a big red nose and thick rectangular-shaped eyebrows. The top of his head is completely bald, although he has some white hair at the back and sides of his head, the back of which is tied with a yellow ribbon into a top knot. He wore a unique green and yellow coat with a red collar. Underneath he wore a flak jacket that represented his village, Iwagakure. The other one was a beautiful woman in her 30s that has ankle-length, auburn hair styled into a herringbone pattern at the back, a top knot tied with a dark blue band, and with 4 bangs at the front. 2 of her bangs are short, with one covering her right eye, and 2 are long, crossing each other on her chest, just below her chin. She had beautiful emerald green eyes. She wore a long-sleeved dark blue dress that falls just below her knees. It seemed to be closed at the front with a zip, and is kept open on the front right side from the waist down. Her dress only covered up to the upper part of her arms and the underside of her S. Underneath, she wore a mesh shirt that covers more of her upper body than her dress, but stops short of covering her shoulders and still leaves a sizable cleavage. She also wore shorts in the same color as her dress and, underneath those, mesh leggings reaching down over her knees. Around her waist, she also wore a belt with a pouch attached to the back on the left. Furthermore, she has high-heeled sandals and shin guards reaching up over her knees. She also wore dark blue polish on her fingers and toes, and dark blue-colored lips. Since the 9-tailed boy betrayed your village and joined the Akatsuki, and on top of that he tried to capture the 8 tails for them. If you engage him, you all are to execute him at once. Mifune said. I understand, Tsunade replied. Now, about Madara, we need to come to an alliance and work together to bring down the Akatsuki. Since the Hokage told me that Madara was willing to bring war if they didn't get the 9 tails, they're still going to bring a full-pledged war against us no matter what. So, that means we'll need a leader to set the right actions for whatever is to come. Mifune mentioned. All the cages looked at one another, and that will be the Hokage, since their village is the strongest amongst them all. Mifune said. I don't have a problem with that. Mei said, as the other cages agreed. Naruto, still outside the room, could not believe what he was hearing. He was to be executed if found. No. He whispered to himself. What does this boy look like exactly? Mei asked. Tsunade turned to face her. He has wild blonde spiky hair, tan skin, and well built. He wears an orange and black jacket with orange pants. Although, since he's now a member of the Akatsuki, he's probably wearing the cloak. He is. You forget that B and I already fought him. Shouted. You know, now that I think of it, I have this strange feeling that we've been spied on. Onoki mentioned. Outside the room Naruto was shocked, but curious if the Tsuchikage was bluffing. He decided to stay like he was and continued to listen in on them. Everyone in the room started to stare at Onoki. You do? I don't sense anyone. A plant started to come out of the floor in the middle of the room, which drew everyone's attention. Shortly after, it finally came up to reveal a Venus flytrap plant. It opened up to show a person's head inside. Basically, the plant was a human itself, but then the plant-like person started to laugh like a madman. He's here. The 9-tailed Jinchuriki is here and will. The Raikage immediately jumped out from his seat and landed in front of the plant. As he grabbed the man's neck with both his hands. Where is he? Naruto's here? Gaara asked himself. The plant man just kept laughing. You'll have to find him yourself. The Raikage was getting annoyed and squeezed both his hands and ended up breaking the man's neck. All the bodyguards of the cages jumped down from their hiding spots and stood near their rightful cage. Lady Tsunade. Naruto is actually here. I sensed his presence just not too long ago. Shizune whispered into her master's ear. Where is he? Tsunade asked. He's right outside this room. Tsunade stood up, which drew everyone's attention. Naruto is a few floors below us. How do you know? The Reikage and Tsuchikage both asked. My assistant picked up his chakra presents not too long ago, so she claims. Tsunade answered. Then how come? Let's go. A shouted, as he jumped and broke through the floor and continued to make his own path there. The Tsuchikage just shook his head at the outbursting Reikage. Darui and Reikage's bodyguards, jumped down to follow their leader. Onoki sighed and went after the Reikage, as did the Tsuchikage's bodyguards Akatsuchi and Kuritsuchi as well. Tsunade sighed in relief, glad that they felt for it, and turned to face the cage. Gaara, come with me please, she said, as she walked toward the exit of the room with Shizune and Kakashi behind her. Gaara got up and followed them with Temari and Kankuro behind him. Mei, Mifune, Ao, and Chojuro just watched as they left, curious of what was going on. Naruto, which was still outside the hall, saw them coming and was panicking slightly, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, that panic disappeared, as he just stood up straight with a blank expression on his face. It was as if he was being controlled and showed no emotions. He took a few steps back to make room for the upcoming people that would soon be in front of him. Just as he expected, Tsunade, Kakashi, Shizune, Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro came out and stopped in front of him. All their eyes widened to see Naruto wearing an Akatsuki cloak, since they were hoping what the Reikage had told them was a lie. Naruto? Kakashi said. Well, it's like a reunion, isn't it? Naruto asked. Why Naruto? Tsunade asked. Why? That's a good question. I don't know why, but I feel like that I belong where I am now. You don't belong with the Akatsuki, you belong back home at the Leaf Village. Everyone misses you, and I know that you do too. Tsunade replied. Naruto chuckled. You know what? I actually don't. I've completely forgotten about everyone and I could care less of what happens now. Why am I saying this? What the hell is happening to me? Naruto thought. Naruto, you know that whenever the Akatsuki gets a chance, they will take the 9 tails from you and you'll die. Gaara said. I don't care. Naruto hissed. There's no way that's Naruto. He's not the same sweet, kind, and hyperactive man anymore. Temari thought. Naruto reached into his cloak and pulled out a kunai, and there's no way I'm going back to the village. Even if you force me, I will not go back. He threw the kunai straight at Tsunade. Everyone was completely shocked to see that Naruto had attacked the Hokage. However, the kunai started to melt, which had fully melted just a foot away from ending Tsunade's life. Looks like I was right. Everyone turned to look at the doorway to see Mei standing there. Mei turned to face the Akatsuki boy. You. Naruto wondered. You're the 9-tailed brat, right? What is it of your concerns? I see. Mei walked past the leaf and sand ninja and stopped in front of them. Lava style. Lava wall. Lava started to form behind her on the floor and rise up. Wait, Mizukage, you can't take him on your own. Tsunade yelled. I'll be fine. Just then, the lava reached up to the ceiling and started to harden. Naruto turned around to see that he was trapped by another lava wall that had formed. It's such a shame that I had to kill such a handsome-looking young man, Mei said, as she licked her lips. Naruto chuckled. I think it's a shame to me actually that I had to kill such a lady as yourself. Well, isn't that? She was cut off, as she felt his presence was now behind her. I mean, it's a shame that this perfect. Naruto placed his hand on her right thigh and started to rub up and down on it. Body would be gone. He's fast, but what the hell is he doing? If he's that fast, he could have killed me by now. Unless. Mei then grinned seeing what the boy was up to and decided to play his little game. She lifted her arms up and folded them behind her head. So, since you could have killed me just now, am I thinking of what you're thinking? Naruto chuckled a bit. Mei turned to face the boy and had a seductive grin on her face. Is that why you put those walls up? He asked, as he kept continuing to rub her thigh. She placed a finger on his chest since his cloak was still torn up from the fight he had with B and the Reikage a week ago. It was kind of weird since they wouldn't give him a new one. She then pushed the boy up against the wall and pushed herself against him. She placed her hands on each of his shoulders and pushed herself against him more. So, is it true? Since you have the 9 tails in you, is it true that you have all that stamina? She asked. Naruto started to feel a little tipsy now due to the way his personality was changed for the short time. It was as if someone took over and pushed him back so he could have complete control. He shook his head and saw that he was pinned against a wall by a beautiful woman with auburn-colored hair. Who are you? he asked, as his face went beet red. Mei then had a confused look on her face. You don't know who I am? Well, all I know is that you're one of the cages. Mei just giggled slightly. I'm the Mizukage, Mei Terumi. Naruto looked around to see that it was just the two of them and that there was no way out. He was trapped with the Mizukage. So, what's with the sudden shyness? She asked, as she started making circle motions on his chest. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see how you're a threat when you're just so cute. Naruto's face was now completely red. Enough talking. She took a step back and unzipped her dress and pulled her arms out from the sleeves of her dress. She then held her arms to the side, letting the dress slide down off on its own. When the dress was down to her feet, she kicked it aside and was now only wearing her fishnet top and bottom. Naruto's eyes shot wide open. What are you doing? He yelled, as he covered his eyes. Mei wouldn't allow him and pulled his hands away from his face. She then placed his hands on her. Naruto's eyes drifted down and stared at his hands. I want to have a little fun. I always had a thing for bad boys. She answered in a seductive tone and licked her lips. Naruto was completely in the back of his mind. He was just lost for words and couldn't think of anything to say to the Mizukage. Mei got tired of waiting and pressed herself against him and planted her lips on his. The blonde-haired boy's eyes shot wide open, not believing what was happening. The boy felt something being pressed against his lips and opened his mouth to try and say something, but Mei's tongue entered his mouth, which prevented him from saying anything. Mei pulled back slightly and slid her left hand down the boy's pants and gasped, "Oh, it looks like your friend's awake," she said, as a seductive smirk crept upon her face. Her eyes drifted down, as did Naruto's. The auburn beauty lowered herself, but when her head was leveled to his chest, she looked up at the boy and licked her lips. She sat down on her knees and reached up to grab the zipper on his cloak and slid it down. Once she brought it to the bottom, she removed his torn-up cloak and saw that he only had pants on underneath it. Naruto just couldn't believe his very eyes. Here, the Mizukage was about to have her way with him, and yet, he's a part of the Akatsuki, am I Mizukage? Mei looked up at him and shook her head. Just call me Mei, she said, and looked in front of her again, as she pulled the boy's pants down. Her eyes widened to see a massive tent in his boxers. Oh my, it seems big, she said, as she removed his boxers to see his hardened 9-inch rod and to reveal his completely nude body. Naruto's face was completely red. Mei, I can't. The Mizukage looked up at the boy with a confused look. And why's that? I'm your enemy and yet you're wanting to do this. Mei sighed and got back up to her feet. Listen here, Naruto, you might be Akatsuki, but deep down, I know that you don't have what it takes to betray your friends and your village. You're just afraid and don't know exactly what to do. Naruto was shocked, but he was also curious of how she knew exactly what he was feeling. Mizu. It's Mei, but I knew you were eavesdropping during our meeting and I could see how heartbroken the Hokage was when she had to agree that you had to be executed if seen. But, when she and her guards came out, and even the Cage and his guards, they held back trying to convince you to come back. They just can't handle you being killed in front of them, because they still deeply care for you. Naruto was silent due to the loss of words, but Mei could see tears forming in the boy's eyes and she smiled slightly. Just go back home where you belong. Don't become an enemy to your village and friends, because all of you can't bear it. I know it. She just looked at the boy's face and could see a smile trying to form on his face. He looked the Mizukage eye to eye and smiled. Thank you, Mei, he said, as he grabbed his pants, but Mei quickly took them from him and tossed them aside. He looked at her again to see a seductive smirk on her face. I'm not done with you yet, she said in a wide tone. Naruto's eyes went wide again, as his face turned into a shade of red. Mei, I've never done this before. Mei's spirit brightened more hearing him say that and looked him in the eye. You're a virgin then? Naruto was embarrassed to answer, but just simply nodded. Mei grinned. Then I'll be giving you a fun time then. Location: Rain Village. Konan was sitting on her bed looking down at the floor. Who does he think he is? Judging me by what I'm forced to do. Her thoughts were interrupted due to a portal opening in front of her bed. She knew exactly who it was and shook her head to hide her feelings for now. Once the portal opened, Madara stepped out and looked at her. Konan, you and Nagato will go out and retrieve the 8 tails while the Raikage is busy at the cage summit. Konan sniffed and nodded in response, but Madara could see that she was hiding something. What did he do? he asked. Konan jumped a bit since he picked up right away, it's nothing. Madara tilted his head up a bit. Apparently it's not nothing if that boy hit a nerve in you. Konan sighed, he just said some words that hit me and made me go mad. So that's why I found him outside. No matter, he's at the cage summit right now. Konan's eyes widened, as she looked at Madara with a look that said, are you insane? Madara grinned behind his mask knowing he got her full attention. He probably got caught in a fight with one of the cages or, maybe, all of them. Konan's body was shaking, fearing that he probably won't manage long at all with all 5 cages at him. Yep. He's probably at his limit right now as we're speaking. Back with Naruto. Konan however was curious of this too. She thought that Pain hated Naruto. Now she was curious if when she was gone that there was a sudden change amongst him. We have a special room just below this base to where we like to train ourselves in. You will be going in there for a couple of years. Naruto's eyes widened. A couple of years? Why so long? Even Konan had to agree with Naruto there. Because, while you're down there, you need to lose your emotions for your village and all your friends. Forget about them, because when you end up fighting them, you won't have to worry about holding back. Naruto was speechless. If you don't, then they'll just kill you without hesitating. Naruto looked down at the ground and was afraid that Pain was right. Pain and Konan kept looking at the boy. There's supplies down there for everything you'll need. Weapons, food, drinks, all that stuff. However though, I set up a few preparations for you. Naruto finally looked back up at Pain wondering what it was. It's something you'll have to see for yourself. Naruto sighed. Okay then. You won't be coming out of there for 2 years, no breaks, no nothing. Is that clear? Naruto turned his gaze elsewhere. I understand. Good, Konan will escort you there. Konan looked at her leader. Why me? Why can't you do it? I got something to do. Pain answered, as he walked away from the two. Konan groaned and turned to walk toward the training area, while Naruto followed behind. The walk was quiet and awkward at the same time. Konan didn't want to hear anything from the boy due to how angry she was at him. Naruto wanted to say something, but he knew better since he didn't want to piss her off even more. Konan stopped, which caused Naruto as well. Naruto was confused. He looked around the area and didn't see how this could be the training area. It was a small room with only a chair and that was it. Here, she pointed at the hatch that was in front of her. Naruto then looked and saw what she was talking about. In there is where you'll be training for the next 2 years. She grabbed the handle and pulled it open to reveal a stairway that led down below. Naruto looked down and couldn't see a thing due to how dark it was, except for the stairs. Well, see you in 2 years. Naruto turned around to face her, but was pushed into the hatch, while Konan closed it and locked him in. She then made sure it was locked and once she verified that it was, she left. Inside the hatch, Naruto sighed and walked down the stairs. Man, there has to be a light switch somewhere. He separated his arms and placed his hands on each wall, as he kept walking down the stairs. Once he took his last step, it was flat from there on, but he felt a switch next to his right hand. With a flip of the switch, lights came on to reveal the room. Naruto stood there in shock. It was huge, but it was just an empty room. However, when he turned his gaze to the side, he saw a doorway that led into another room. He walked over to the room and inside was only a kitchen. So this is what's going to keep me alive for 2 years, huh? Yes. Naruto instantly turned around and saw no one in the kitchen with him. He quickly ran out of there and when he did, the big empty room was not so empty anymore. The scenery changed into a battlefield with rocks and pillars everywhere. Who's there? He shouted. Naruto, I'm afraid you're coming back to the village with me. Suddenly, Kakashi appeared right in front of him. What? Kakashi-sensei, how? However, something was strange though. Naruto looked at his eyes to see that they were purple with a hint of red. Kakashi-sensei? No more talking, Kakashi said, as he charged right at Naruto with a lightning blade already fully charged. Wait, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi ignored the boy and swung his lightning blade at him, but Naruto easily dodged it. Followed after that, Kakashi started to send a series of punches and kicks with incredible speed. Kakashi-sensei, wait a second. Once again, he ignored the boy's cry and kept on. Naruto was actually having trouble dodging them all and knew he wouldn't be able to keep this up. Then it hit him. Naruto messed up by moving the wrong way and received a kick to the ribs. He was sent to a knee holding onto himself, Kakashi-sensei, please." Of course, he didn't listen to the boy's plead and kicked the boy again, but this time he kicked him toward the kidney area. "Naruto, you're coming back. Plus, someone has something to say to you." Kakashi turned so that Naruto could see who was coming from behind his sensei. The boy's eyes widened. "Naruto, why? Sakura, why did you leave Naruto?" "Why?" she asked, as she approached him and knelt down in front of him. Wham! Naruto was sent flying back and crashed into a giant rock. The boy came out and stood in the crater that was made due to his impact. He looked to see Sakura and Kakashi just standing there. What the hell is going on? Suddenly, Sakura appeared right in front of him. What the hell? When did you? Sakura shot a straightforward punch, but Naruto on the nick of time jumped out from the crater and dodged it. He landed on the ground, but now he was surrounded. Kakashi was behind him, while Sakura was in front. What the hell is going on? Look, Naruto, we had orders to kill you, but we're wanting to bring you back to the village instead. Kakashi said, "I already told you a while back that I couldn't go back. Then we have no choice but to kill you," he replied, as him and Sakura closed in on him. "Why is this happening? I don't understand." Naruto then snapped out of himself and quickly grabbed Sakura by her foot and threw her at Kakashi, which made her collide against him and pushed them back. Kakashi stopped the both of them and got her off him, as they stood their ground. Naruto was standing where he was and kept his gaze to the ground. "If you two have seeped that low, then I have no choice." Kakashi then charged at the boy once again and sent series of punches and kicks at him again, but Naruto easily dodged them this time. Naruto then grabbed Kakashi's fist and pulled him towards him. He then kneed his sensei in his gut, followed by a kick to the chest, which sent him flying back. This must be what pain meant. I must not hold back or it'll cost me my life, he said to himself. He looked back at Kakashi and Sakura and saw that they were closing in on him. Well, he's right. He charged after them as well. Back in the base, Konan was walking with pain, trying to erase any thought of a certain blonde-haired boy. "Konan." She shook her head and looked at her leader. "Yes? That boy, he's going to end up being the one to take my place one day." Konan's eyes widened. "What?" "It's something just came through my mind when the boy was at the cage summit. I know it seems strange, but I pictured him taking my place when I die." "Why would you think that?" "It's just something that I'm not even sure of, but remember, he's still young and he's an Uzumaki after all. He has yet to awaken his true power." "Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that." She sighed and looked down at the ground, as the two kept walking. "You know, if it does go to that, you should follow him like you have been with me." "No, Konan, I know you hate him now, but just think about it. When I'm gone and it's just you, while he may take my place, what are you going to do? Are you going to run from him and be on your own? Who knows what will happen to you if you do? Or, will you stay with him and remain safe?" Konan gave Pain a disappointed look. "What? You don't think I can take care of myself? Konan, if you go on your own, you're sure to be found and you might be killed in an instant. It might be more than likely ninja from Konoha. But, if you stayed with the boy, I'm sure he's wanting to protect you with all his will." Konan sighed. "I can't promise what my decision will be." Pain sighed as well. "Whatever you do, just promise me you'll be fine." Konan then looked back at him and gave him a small smile. "I will." Location: Konoha Village. Lady Tsunade. Shizune called out. The busted Hokage looked up at her assistant. "What is it?" "I think you need to take a look at this," she said, as she handed her a book. Tsunade's eyes widened. "A bingo book?" she asked, as she scanned the pages. Shizune was scared of what was to come from the Hokage once she saw what she has seen. "Why did you bring me?" Tsunade stopped once she reached a certain page that she hasn't seen yet, until now. There was nothing but silence roaming the room, while Shizune had a couple of sweat drops sliding down her forehead. Tsunade kept staring at the page and didn't like it one bit. Name: Naruto Uzumaki. Age: 18. Status: former genin of Konoha. Reward: 50 million ryo. Wanted: dead or alive. Information on bounty: wanted for leaving his village and becoming a member of the Akatsuki. Skills: ninjutsu and some taijutsu. Other information: high wind jutsu and has mastered using sage mode. Has incredible chakra and can heal incredibly fast due to the kyubi. Rank: S. Approach with caution. Tsunade couldn't believe it. It hasn't even been that long and they already have him in the bingo book. "Shizune, take this away from me." Yes, my lady, she replied and grabbed the book. Please, inform everyone that doesn't know about it. Yes, my lady, she answered, as she walked out of the office. When she turned around to leave, she saw Sakura coming up to her. Hey Shizune, she greeted. Hey there Sakura, she said in a rather soft voice. Sakura then realized something was off, and that's when she saw the book that she was carrying. Shizune, what is that? She pointed at the book. Shizune looked at it and held it up in between them, the bingo book. Why are you carrying that around? Shizune then opened a marked page in the book and held it up so Sakura could see. Once the pink-haired medic saw it, she too went completely silent. Sakura then began to shiver, not believing it as well. Her old teammate in fact was now a wanted criminal. Why? What did he do to get added in the book? The pink-haired medic asked, as tears began to form in her eyes. He tried capturing the 8 tails for the Akatsuki. Sakura's eyes widened. Naruto? He wouldn't do anything like that. I'm sorry Sakura, but he did. Sakura turned around and ran back, making her way out of the building, leaving a trail of tears behind. She was truly heartbroken. First, Sasuke was the one to leave them long ago to seek power from Orochimaru, and now, Naruto left them for the Akatsuki in order to protect everyone he cared about. Just on top of that, both her teammates were now wanted criminals. It was very hurtful to her since they've been teammates ever since the academy, and now, they're all on their own now. She then opened the door to step outside and continued her walk. Hey Sakura. The pink-haired medic looked to her right to see Tenten, Neji, Hinata, and Lee. She tried to hide her emotions after hearing and seeing what happened, but she couldn't. Tenten tilted her head a bit. What's wrong Sakura? Sakura wiped her tears away and managed to hold herself up to speak. Well, you know how Naruto left for the Akatsuki? Everyone stiffened a bit. Yes. They all replied. Well, I was about to go see Lady Tsunade until Shizune came out of her office with a book. The book wasn't just a book, it was a bingo book. Everyone's eyes widened, hoping what they're thinking isn't true. Yeah. Well, Shizune showed me someone that was just added to the book, and it was Naruto. Everyone gasped. What? Why so soon? Tenten asked. I don't even know. Sakura answered. Why would they add him to the book though? He hasn't done anything wrong yet. Neji asked. Sakura sniffed and wiped another set of tears sliding down her cheeks. He tried to capture the 8 tails for the Akatsuki. Everyone went wide-eyed, not believing what they heard. Naruto did. Isn't he a Jinchuriki himself? Tenten asked. Yes. Then why would he try to capture someone else that has one too? I thought he always wanted to protect them? That's what I thought too. Why would Naruto-kun even do such a thing? His power of youth has gone wrong. Lee said. We don't know, but since he did such a thing, Akatsuki probably made him do it. Neji sighed. We need to bring him back. I agree with Neji. Hinata said. Sakura was having terrible thoughts going through her mind, and she looked down at the ground, first Sasuke and now. Her tears fell off her cheek and hit the floor. And now Naruto. She finally finished. Tenten walked over to her friend and hugged her. You know we'll help bring him back no matter what. After all, he was always there for us and saved all of us from situations. Tenten's right. We will all help Naruto's youth shine bright once again. Lee shouted. Sakura looked at Neji and Hinata and saw them both smiling. You know our answer. Neji said. Sakura smiled and returned Tenten's hug, feeling slightly better knowing that her friends would help bring back Naruto. Location. Unknown. Sasuke was standing outside a cave and watched the waterfall that was nearby him. He was feeling his usual self, which was nothing for now. The air in front of him started to spin and he knew damn well what it was. Just seconds later, it opened to reveal Madara coming out. Sasuke. What is it? There has been a lot of recent activity. 1. Pain has an apprentice. Who is it? I can't tell you that, yet. But, his apprentice failed to capture the 8 tails on his own. Sasuke chuckled, already imagining that this apprentice of Pain's is weak, which is why you and your team will go after the 8 tails and capture him. Sasuke then gave Madara a serious look. Not now though, so relax. It's whenever you want. Basically you keep attempting to catch it no matter how many times you fail. You just better catch it. HMPH, you don't need to worry, I'm sure we can catch it without a problem. Aren't you very confident about this? Let me fill you in on a little something. Pain's apprentice is actually stronger than you and is getting even stronger as we speak. Sasuke's eyes widened, but his body was flowing with anger. Yeah, he did fail to capture the 8 tails, but that was because the Raikage came to aid him, which was too much for Pain's apprentice. Sasuke grabbed the hilt of his sword, but he didn't unsheath it. Madara looked down to see that Sasuke was ready to kill someone or something. Now, just calm down. His apprentice is actually training somewhere and can't stop for 2 years. You got plenty of time to catch up to him or whatever you choose. Sasuke gritted his teeth slightly, then thought of something. Do you still have Itachi's eyes? Madara grinned behind his mask. Yes. I want his eyes, Sasuke said. It's about time. Time skip. A year later. Location. Rain Village. Pain was standing at the top of the base looking down at his village, as the rain kept pouring like always. Footsteps were heard coming from behind him and he knew who it was exactly. What is it, Konan? And nothing really, just thought I would come up and check on you. I see. Awkward silence fell before them till Konan realized that something was strange about him. What's wrong? Pain turned around to face her with a serious look. Madara told him. Konan gave him a confused look. Told who? Madara told Sasuke about the boy. Konan's eyes widened. What? Now just wait a minute, he didn't tell Sasuke that it was Naruto. He just told him that I had an apprentice. But still, now Sasuke's going to want to see who your apprentice is, and once he finds out who it is, he's going to want to kill him. Actually, they'll just end up killing each other. But yeah, we need to make sure we don't allow them to see each other. I understand. Pain turned back around and looked down at his village again. Just 1 more year until that boy comes out as a different person. Well, at least he better be. Location. Konoha. Tsunade was sitting in her office with Neji, Sakura, Tenten, and Lee standing in front of her desk. Lady Tsunade, we were unable to find him once again, Sakura said. Tsunade took a deep breath and slammed her fists on her desk. It's been a year and we still can't find him? She shouted. Everyone jumped slightly from her outburst. We're sorry, my lady, Sakura said. The busted Hokage slammed her fists on her desk once again. We don't have much time. They only have to capture the 8 tails and then they'll be complete since they already have Naruto in the palm of their hands. We know, Lady Hokage. We're trying our best to find him too, Neji said. Wait a second. The Hokage gave it a quick thought. There's one other place that we haven't checked. What is it? Sakura asked. The Rain Village. Wait, how could we even get there? It's incredibly hard to infiltrate, Neji said. I don't even know how. Everyone sighed. I guess we have no other choice but to wait for when he comes out for a mission or something, Neji mentioned. Yep, that's all we can do for now. You're all dismissed. They nodded, as they left the office disappointed that they wouldn't be able to do anything unless Naruto was out of the Rain Village. The gang walked out of the Hokage's office and made their way down to the exit. What are we going to do? Sakura asked. You heard the Hokage, there's nothing we can do, Neji answered. It's been a year and we still can't find him, nor did we hear any news from anyone from different villages about his appearance. Tears started to form in Sakura's eyes. What if he really is gone? What if they killed him? They looked at Sakura feeling terrible now. It was silent now since no one had anything to say. What's going on here? Everyone turned to the source of the voice to see Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei? What are you doing here? Sakura asked, as she wiped her tears away. I came here to deliver the news to Tsunade about Naruto. Everyone's eyes widened. You? What's wrong with Naruto? And how do you know where he is? Sakura asked. Kakashi scratched the back of his head. Well, I ended up running into someone that's in the Akatsuki. However, he willingly told me about Naruto before I could even ask him myself. He told me that Naruto's working as an apprentice for another member of the Akatsuki. But the guy that told me this has Sasuke as his own apprentice. Sasuke? Lee asked. Yes, I can't tell you the name of the Akatsuki guy that I talked with until I verify with the Hokage first. Everyone nodded, as Kakashi continued his way to the Hokage's office. Once he was out of sight, the gang looked at one another and then dashed off back toward the office. Shortly after, the gang found themselves at the slightly open door and hid their chakra so that they wouldn't be spotted. They all closed in and listened in closely. Lord Hokage, I came to discuss about the news of Naruto. What is it? Well, I did run in on one of the members of the Akatsuki. It turned out he was telling me everything about Naruto before I could even ask. However though, this Akatsuki guy is named. He stopped since he knew that this was terrible news and that there would be a big fuss over it. Well, what's his name? His name is Madara Uchiha. The gang outside the door went wide-eyed after what they just heard, but, I thought. Madara was dead? Lee whispered. Tsunade was completely speechless. Anyway, Lord Hokage, he told me that Naruto is alive and is serving under the Akatsuki member that captured him as an apprentice. Also, Madara has an apprentice of his own and it's Sasuke. Then it came to her, what? If those two see each other, it's not going to go well at all. Kakashi nodded, I know, that's why as soon as Naruto comes out of the Rain Village, we need to bring him back quickly. Very well, I will inform the other cages. You're dismissed. Kakashi nodded and walked to the door. The gang decided to remain put, but they backed up a bit to allow Kakashi some room when he steps out. Just as he stepped out the office, he saw that the gang was standing there with serious expressions on their faces. Kakashi sighed, I knew you all would listen in. Kakashi-sensei, do you know any way that we can get into the Rain Village? Sakura asked. I don't sadly. The only person that I'm aware of that found a way was Jiraiya. There has to be another way in. She shouted. I'm afraid there isn't. Kakashi replied and walked past them to make his way out of the building. Tenten hugged her good friend Sakura to keep her from getting hurt again. Don't worry, Sakura, I'm sure he'll come back once he sees his friends wanting him back. She smiled. Sakura returned the hug. I really hope so. Time skip. 1 year later. Location. Rain Village. Pain and Konan were making their way to the hatch where Naruto's been training. It was mostly quiet when they were walking since they were kind of wondering if he had changed like they were hoping for. Konan, the blue-haired woman looked over at Pain, yes? When we see him, I want you to control that anger of yours. Konan jumped a bit, I don't know what you're talking about. She lied. They arrived at the hatch shortly, but Pain turned around to face Konan. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You're still mad at him because you were really jealous when you found out that he had with the Mizukage and not you. Konan blushed furiously, I wasn't jealous. Pain raised an eyebrow and just kept looking at her. Then tell me, if you were mad, why were you mad at him anyway? Konan raised her arm to answer, but she couldn't find what she was looking for to say. Pain grinned slightly knowing that he knew that deep down Konan had something for the boy. He turned around and grabbed the handle of the hatch, it's time for him to come out. After a few of the locks came unlocked, the hatch door opened, as Pain and Konan took a few steps back. They couldn't see anything due to how dark it was and couldn't hear any footsteps or anything. Naruto, Pain called out. There was still no sound coming from within. Naruto, Pain called out once again. Once again, there was nothing to be heard. Just as Pain and Konan were about to go in to see what was going on, they heard footsteps. They remained where they were and then they saw him. Their eyes widened, they were looking at a much taller Naruto and his blonde spiky hair was a tad bit longer. Look at my profile picture for his look. Naruto, how do you feel? Pain asked. Naruto now fully stepped out of the hatchet to reveal himself so they could see well. The two went wide-eyed once more once they saw that he was pretty much covered in blood. What happened? Konan asked, as she rushed to him. Pain was shocked by her change in mood all of a sudden and grinned. Konan quickly put her arm around Naruto's shoulders trying to give him support. Naruto looked at Konan, what are you doing? Konan looked up at Naruto, I'm helping you. I don't need any help. He quickly withdrew himself from her and kept his distance from her. Konan looked at him not believing what he just did. Naruto, what happened? Pain asked. Naruto turned to face Pain. Well, the last fight I had turned out to be going against Pervy Sage. I kind of let my guard down and it cost me pretty badly. Pervy Sage? Who's that? That's what I used to call my sensei. His name was Jiraiya. Pain and Konan's eyes widened. Jiraiya? He was our teacher as well when we were younger. Naruto just stood there showing no sense of emotion. Pain just kept looking at the new Naruto and smiled. So, I see your training went well. Naruto grinned, of course. I see, well, I'll let you have today and tomorrow to take a break. Once you feel refreshed and all cleaned up, I'll give you your first mission. Naruto nodded and walked past them, as Pain and Konan turned to watch him leave. Konan then looked at Pain once Naruto was out of sight, he's completely different. Pain smiled, yep, just exactly how he should be. But, if he remains like that, what if he decides to ignore us and turn on us? He won't, I can promise you that. I've been thinking though. Konan looked at him curious of what it was. I've been thinking about keeping him with us rather than taking the Jinchuriki and letting him die. I rather have him as a fellow teammate, and it's best we do since Madara has other things planned that might not end up too good for all of us. Konan was shocked, hearing that Pain wanted to keep the boy alive instead of having him killed. What's with the big change? I don't know, I think since we're the only 3 of Jiraiya's students that are still alive, we should just remain like this. Konan smiled softly. I thought you would never come forth with that. Well, it can't be all that bad, he said. Konan kept her smile on liking the change of him. Thank you, she said, as she ran after for Naruto. All he should care about is everyone that lives in this village and him, of course. Everyone he knew from Konoha shouldn't be any problem for him to kill if needed. Pain said to himself. Somewhere in the streets of the Rain Village, Naruto was walking with his hands deep in his cloak's pockets. The rain started soaking his hair and slightly covered his face. The rain also managed to wash off the blood that was on him. He started to walk by a few shops all aligned with one another. The first one he saw was a ramen shop, but he knew damn well that it wouldn't be the same as Ichiraku's. He continued his walk and the next shop he saw was a dumpling one. Seeing how all he ate was ramen, he decided to try something new and walked into the shop. Hi and welcome. You may choose anywhere to sit, the woman behind the counter said, as she slightly blushed seeing Naruto. The girl had beautiful long black hair that went down to her lung section. She was wearing a black skirt that hovered just a bit over her knees, and she also wore a black ruffle neck blouse. She wore a silver bracelet that had little patterns of waves on it. Thank you, he replied. Examining the place, he saw that it wasn't very big. It had 2 sections with 6 booth tables in each section. Then, to the other side was a bar where there was a group of 6 guys drinking and messing around with one another. He blinked once and walked over to a booth that was in the second section and chose the one at the far back. Hello, what would you like? He looked up to see that it was the same girl he saw at the counter. Hi. Can I just get some water for now? Why yes, she answered, as she placed a menu down on the table for him and then headed to the back to get what he asked for. He looked at the menu and scanned through all what kind of dumplings they had. The sound of broken glass came from the bar, as he looked over to see what was going on. He saw that the same group of guys taking glasses from the bar, and he also realized that the same girl was there. He saw that one of the guys grabbed her and pinned her against the bar. The guy then pressed himself against the waitress and started groping her. Naruto had about enough and got up from his seat and walked over to the group. The other guys saw the boy coming up to them and went up to him to keep him from walking any further. The guy that was nearly in front of his face looked and saw that he was wearing the Akatsuki cloak, then looked back up at the boy. So, you're one of those like our leader of this village? How come I've never seen you before? Naruto just stood there looking at the man, as the guy that had the waitress pinned turned to face his group and the boy as well. Well? Still no answer came from him, and now the guy was starting to get annoyed, as he grabbed Naruto by the collar of his cloak. You must be a fake then, he said, as a grin crept upon the man's face. He tossed Naruto over to the bar to end up being surrounded by the rest of the gang. However, Naruto showed no sign of fear or anything else. Okay brat, have it your way then. The guy punched straight forward and made contact against Naruto's gut. Then he sent an uppercut and made contact with his jaw, then a hook shot right across the lower area of his left eye, which instantly swelled up. The waitress gasped, "Leave him alone," she screamed. The man retrieved his hands back and looked at the boy. Had enough? Naruto just stood there still showing no sign at all. Apparently you want some more then. The guy then sent a punch straight toward his nose, but Naruto instantly caught the man's fist. I've had enough of your attitude, Naruto said, as he squeezed the man's fist, causing the guy to yell in pain and then kicked the man in the gut, which made him go flying against one of the booths that were at a good distance behind him. The rest of the gang looked at their friend that was just sent crashing into one of the booths, then looked back at the boy. You're going to regret that, boy. The rest of the gang then all charged in after him. Naruto then elbowed the man that was coming up behind him and then grabbed a hold of him just to end up tossing him into the guy that was coming up from in front of him, as the two of them went crashing to the guy that was slammed against the booth earlier. Two of the guys grabbed a hold of Naruto's arms and held them up, while the last remaining guy came up to him in front of him. You should have stayed out of it, brat. He then sent continuous punches to his gut, followed up by a punch that landed against his left cheek, which also swelled up. Had enough? Naruto blinked and grinned. Is that it? He then retrieved his arms from the two men that had a hold of them and grabbed both of them by their necks. He then tossed the two of them at the guy that was in front of him and caused them both to collapse on top of one another. He turned to see the waitress standing where she was still against the bar, but she grabbed a damp rag and walked over to him. Are you alright? She asked, as she patted the swelled up spot below his eye. He looked down at her to see her relieved face. Yes, but are you okay? The waitress blushed. Yes, thank you. She answered, as she continued to lightly pat his sore spot. Are you alright, hun? The waitress and Naruto looked toward the source of the voice coming from behind the bar to see an old man. Yes, Dad. She then turned back to face Naruto. This man saved me. The old man looked over at Naruto, in which he also remained looking at the old man. It was really fishy to him at first, but then he remembered of whom these two reminded him. A picture of Teuchi and Ayame flashed in his mind and then vanished. However, he showed no sign of caring and just remained like he was. Thank you for protecting my daughter, the old man said. Naruto scratched the back of his head and had a small smile. It was. Naruto was cut off when he felt a little sharp pain coming from his back. The waitress gasped, as the old man was frightened. Naruto turned his head and looked from the corner of his eye to see that it was the guy that was groping the waitress earlier who had just stabbed him in the back with a knife. Is that it? Naruto asked the man, as the guy went wide-eyed, not believing that it did nothing. The man let go and backed away from him. Naruto sighed. It's your choice. However, before he could turn around, the man fell down unconscious. Naruto turned around to see that Konan had just knocked him out. Naruto had a confused look on his face as of why would she be here. Konan? What are you doing here? I came here to check on you and here I see that you already got in a mess. She walked up to him and motioned for him to turn around, which he did. She removed the knife quickly from his back. Naruto's body stiffened due to the minor sharp pain coming from it. Ouch. He said in a normal tone. You need to be careful next time, she said, as Naruto turned around to face her. I think I can take care of myself. Konan started to get a little frustrated, but she couldn't find anything to say. Naruto turned his back to her and faced the waitress. Is it okay if I can get? Konan cut in between the two and had just slapped him across his face, which caused him to look to his side. Ever since you came out of your training, you've been a complete ass. You need to get rid of this selfish act of yourself and just be your normal self. Naruto rubbed his cheek and turned to look at Konan eye to eye. I am my normal self. I don't see how you can't see it, but if you haven't figured out why I'm acting like this toward you only, then it's your fault. I'm acting like this to you because the way you treated me after that little incident 2 years ago. I got tired of how you kept treating me like that after I even tried multiple times trying to say that I was sorry, but no, it didn't work. That's why I'm acting like this toward you, and if you can't accept it, then start accepting it, cause it's not going to change. Konan was shocked and yet slightly scared for a bit after hearing what he told her. Naruto then looked over Konan's shoulder to look at the waitress. I'm sorry, I'll come again some other time. He turned his back to them and walked out of the shop and entered the street once again. Okay. She smiled, slightly disappointed that he left. Konan was hurt now, realizing that he was right. She sighed and looked over at the thugs, as she formed a giant mat-sized sheet of paper below the still passed out men. I'll take care of these guys for you too, she said. She walked out of the shop with the giant sheet of paper with the guys on them following behind her. Once she stepped out, she saw Naruto on her right a few yards away from her. She saw that he was talking to someone that was trying to bring him into the alley. She was curious of who the person was or whatever it could be since she couldn't quite see. Shortly though, Naruto walked into the alley and then that gave Konan the sign to follow him. Once she got to where Naruto once was when she saw him, she peeked around the corner to see that Naruto was talking to someone and couldn't tell who it was still. She remained in her position and listened in on them. You do understand, right? The person asked. Naruto nodded. When should I go then? I'll take you there now, but remember, you need to wait till Danzo's alone and then you can make your move. Fine. Danzo? That means. Konan now saw that the two of them were both gone. Her eyes widened now knowing who the person was. She quickly put the still passed out thugs into the alley and vanished in sheets of paper to go find Pain. Back at the base, Pain was standing on the rooftop looking down at his village, enjoying how peaceful it looked. The sound of paper being scattered around was heard behind him and he turned around to see Konan. "What is it?" he asked. "Madara was just here." "He was? What was he doing?" "He took Naruto." Pain's body jumped a bit. "He what? Where is he?" "I think he sent Naruto to Konoha to kill Danzo." "Damn it. We need to go aid him. He won't be able to manage on his own." "Let's go." The two of them ran back inside getting preparations needed for the attack on the leaf. Naruto was still standing on top of the tree and looking at his old home. He scratched the back of his head. "Well, orders are orders," he said to himself, as he jumped down off the tree and took off toward the village with incredible speed. Konoha Gates. Kotetsu sighed. "Azumo, I'm going to go get something to eat and bring it back." "Do you want anything?" Azumo rubbed his head. "I don't think so. I'm not that." His stomach then let out a loud growl. On second thought, "Sure. Okay." Before Kotetsu went back into the village, both him and Azumo felt someone approaching the gates. They both got into defensive positions and waited for whoever or whatever was coming. They saw a figure coming out from the forest and couldn't tell who it was at first. That was until the figure came completely out of the forest. Azumo and Kotetsu were shocked. "That cloak, red clouds." "Akatsuki," Kotetsu said. "Wait, Kotetsu, look closely. Blonde spiky hair, whisker marks," Azumo stated. Then it hit them both like a pile of bricks. "Naruto." They both shouted at the same time. Naruto grinned. "Yo, what are you doing here?" Azumo asked. "I don't think that's any of your concern. Now, I'll tell you once, move aside or you'll be killed." The two gate watchers both sweat dropped. "We can't allow you through," Kotetsu said. Naruto bowed his head and sighed. "Listen, I don't want to kill you too, but if you still refuse to let me through then I have no choice." The two guards took a huge gulp preparing for the worst. "You two should just let me in. I'm here looking for Danzo." "Danzo? Why are you here for him?" Azumo asked. "Simple, he's an obstacle to us and I came here to clear it. We can't let you through." "Damn traitor." Kotetsu yelled and charged after Naruto. "No, Kotetsu don't," Azumo shouted. Kotetsu threw a few shurikens at the traitor. He then pulled out a scroll and summoned a large shell-like weapon. Azumo sighed and joined his partner, as he went through a few hand signs. "Water release, syrup capture field," Azumo shouted, as he spat out at the ground that Naruto was standing at. Naruto looked at the ground and realized that he couldn't move and then looked to see Kotetsu coming in to strike him with that large weapon of his. "Take this traitor," Kotetsu yelled, as he swung his weapon at Naruto hoping it would take him out. However, it didn't turn out like that since Naruto stopped the blow with his hand. "You think a kid's trick like this will work on me?" Kotetsu and Azumo gasped, as Kotetsu tried to withdraw his weapon. Naruto refused to let him do so and simply crushed it into pieces. What the hell? Kotetsu retreated back and landed next to his partner. Naruto sighed and released a shockwave of wind to clear the ground below him from the syrup-like water. He walked toward the two guards and pulled out a kunai from his cloak. "Now it's my turn." He added chakra to his kunai, which took on a different look. It looked as if it was a chakra blade now. With a quick single movement, he was now behind the two, as the two guards couldn't believe how fast he was. Just as they were about to turn around, blackness came to them, as they fell to the ground. Naruto just slashed across both of their midsection area in one swing, as blood gushed out from the cut. With a disappointment sigh escaping the blonde, he turned his back to the two and made his way into the village. Kotetsu, weakly lifting his head up to see his partner soaked in blood and saw him breathing slightly and then saw Naruto was now within the village. He really is a demon. With Naruto, the blonde ignored all the villagers' eyes that were casting on him and continued his walk toward the Hokage's building. He could hear the village people talking to one another wondering why a member of the Akatsuki is here since they couldn't pick up who the person really was. Still ignoring them, he passed a weapon store and just as he did, Tenten, Neji, Sakura, and Lee came out of it. "Don't you already have enough weapons as it is, Tenten?" Lee asked. Tenten smiled. "Nope," she cheerfully answered. "But don't you have thousands of them stored away? Don't you think that's enough?" Sakura asked. Once again, Tenten gave the same smile. "Nope." "Hey," Neji called. The three looked at him. "What is it?" They both asked. "Look." He pointed toward the Akatsuki member walking ahead. "Akatsuki? What is a member doing here?" Lee asked. "I don't know, but how did he get past?" Neji stopped thinking and just thought that Akatsuki member probably killed the guards or simply made them let him in. We need to go check on the guards. Right, they said at the same time, as they ran towards the gate. With Naruto, he was now walking on a more crowded part of the village, which caused him to slow his pace down due to all the villagers. The smell of sweet barbecue came from one of the restaurants that he just walked past. When he did, he could hear a loud and cheerful voice behind him. That was delicious, Choji shouted. Yeah, but you should really take it easy next time or you'll be completely out of money. Ino mentioned. Ino's right, it's always a drag to bring you here just to spend way too much money on it. Shikamaru said. Choji patted his stomach still full from all the food, but it's always worth it in the end. He cheerfully said. Shikamaru and Ino sighed, as they decided to follow the crowd. Shikamaru though, saw something strange and of course it was the Akatsuki. Hey, look. Ino and Choji looked ahead and couldn't quite see what Shikamaru was saying due to all the people. What? I don't. Then it came to view, they saw that cloak with the red clouds on it. Akatsuki? Why? Ino asked. Yo, Shikamaru. Team 10 then turned around to see that it was Kiba with Hinata and Shino coming up to them. What are you three doing? Kiba asked until he saw they were standing in front of barbecue place and knew better to wait. Forget that I asked. What is it, Kiba? Shikamaru asked. Oh, not too long ago, Shino picked up a disturbance at the gates. They all turned to Shino now, as the bug user spoke up. Yeah, it didn't last long though. I felt an incredible chakra presence there and within a minute, it was gone. Shikamaru was shocked but he knew exactly, then that must explain that. He pointed back to the Akatsuki member that was now further away from them, but was still in sight. Akatsuki? Kiba asked. Yeah, it looks like it's headed to the Hokage's building. We need to get there quick. Let's go then, Kiba said, as the two teams quickly made their way through the crowd and shortly, they ended up passing the Akatsuki person. They didn't look back to get a look at the person's face since they were all in a rush to get the building first. Looks like I've already spotted. Naruto thought to himself, as he saw his old friends rushing to the building. I think I'll stop for a bite and let them have some time to discuss what to do since they'll need to. Naruto looked to his right and saw Ichiraku's right there before him. He walked in and saw only one guy eating. Hi and welcome to Ichiraku's. What? Tucci stopped to see the cloak. I'll just take the pork. Naruto answered. Tucci gave the person a glare, but an order is an order after all, it brought him money. Naruto sat there patiently for his order, as his eyes fixed upon Ayame who was going around putting the clean dishes back with the stacks. She knew she was being eyed by him too and didn't like it. Turning herself around to face him she gave him an ugly glare. What do you want, you filth? Ouch, what? Can I not look at a person? Ayame didn't answer and went to the back to check on her father. Tucci just finished the bowl of pork ramen for him too and looked at Ayame. Take this to him please. Ayame took the bowl and walked back to the front and placed the bowl of ramen in front of the man. Naruto looked down at it and was happy to have some ramen after going 2 years without Ichiraku's. Thank you, he said, as he grabbed a pair of chopsticks and broke them apart from one another. Closing his eyes for a mere second, he started to devour his ramen. Ayame was shocked. She didn't think a member of the Akatsuki would act like this. Tucci came from the back and was also shocked to see the Akatsuki man devour his meal. Ayame went up to her father's ear. I only know one person that eats like that, she whispered. Tucci simply nodded in response, as the two waited to see what was going to come from him next. Naruto leaned back and had a smile on his face. One more please. Tucci and his daughter went wide-eyed knowing exactly who this man truly is now. Naruto instantly covered Ayame's mouth. The man that was eating looked over at the blonde wondering what was with his actions. Don't you say it. Ayame looked at him and was hurt now since she was looking at her long-lost friend that is now a part of the Akatsuki. She was really hoping back when she was told that Naruto left and joined the Akatsuki wasn't true, but now she's seeing him before her eyes. Promise me you won't. If you don't, I'll have to take you out. Ayame was shaking now. Her long-lost friend was threatening to kill her if she shouted his name. She knew if she did, the villagers outside the stand would hear her and then the news of Naruto being here would alert the Hokage. She looked over to her dad who was also shocked to see Naruto like this and then back at the blonde. With a simple nod, Naruto removed his hand. Tucci went to the back to make Naruto another bowl, while Ayame just remained where she was. Naruto looked to his side to see that the man was still staring at him. "What do you want?" Naruto asked in a cold tone. The man was examining him, blonde spiky hair and those whisker marks. Naruto was now on his guard, having a feeling that this guy knew who he was and thought that he might run off to report to the Hokage about it. Naruto reached into his cloak and grabbed a kunai, preparing himself for what was to come, as the man was still examining him. Ayame looked at Naruto, then looked at the man and back to Naruto. "You?" Naruto instantly jumped from his stool and pinned the man against the side wall with the kunai against the man's neck. "What the hell?" The man yelled. "Don't even think about it." Naruto said. "What? I was just going to say you should really find a new hair look, it's kind of lame with those whisker marks if you ask me." Naruto cocked an eyebrow and loosened his grip. He placed the kunai back in his cloak, feeling dumb of his action, and put on a goofy smile. "Sorry, I thought you were going to do something else." "Like what?" Naruto went back to his stool and waited for his ramen again. "Nothing." "Here you go," Tucci said, as he placed another bowl of ramen in front of Naruto. A big smile came upon the blonde. "Thanks." He dove right in, devouring another bowl. The man that was assaulted earlier quietly walked out and ran towards the Hokage's building. When he was a good distance away from the stand, a puff of smoke covered him, and when it cleared, it revealed Kakashi. "I knew I sensed his chakra at the gates earlier," he thought to himself. Back with Naruto. Naruto dropped the bowl of ramen to show that it was completely empty. "I've missed this ramen so much." Ayame and Tucci wanted to smile, but they couldn't, since seeing him a part of the Akatsuki refused to let them. "Naruto." He lifted his head up and looked at Ayame. "What? Please, come back." Naruto tilted his head slightly. "No can do." "Why? Everyone misses you." "Well, to tell you the truth, I don't care." The two of them went wide-eyed, as Ayame reached to smack him across the face, but Naruto caught her hand before she could. "If you were to strike me then, I would have killed you." He let go of her hand, as she retrieved it. "I don't like this new you, Naruto," Tucci said. "Well, you'll just have to get over it." Naruto got up from his stool and paid for his food. "I need to get going anyway." "Thanks for the meal." He walked out of the stand, leaving the two saddened. "Father," Ayame said. "Yes? What if he turns out to attack the village?" "I don't know, sweetie, but we'll have to prepare for the worst." "Well, I'll make sure that doesn't happen to us." Ayame walked to the back of the stand and stopped in front of a cabinet. Tucci came up to her, knowing what she was thinking, as he saw her open a drawer. She pulled out an old Anbu mask that had a shape of a cat. Tucci looked down at her mask, not liking her daughter going back to being a fighter. "Hun, you don't." "No, I do. He isn't the same anymore, Dad. That's why we have to put him down." With Naruto. Once again, Naruto found himself stuck in a large crowd, which slowed him down again. He scratched the back of his head. "Can't you people go any faster?" All the people stopped and eyed the blonde. "Come on. Quit slowing me down and move on." "What an impatient asshole," a civilian said. The crowd of people continued their business and ignored the shout from the blonde. Naruto was getting really ticked now. "Wait. Why am I walking?" He jumped up to a nearby roof and started hopping roof to roof toward his destination. "Why didn't I think of this sooner?" he asked himself. "Now, where exactly?" "You." Naruto stopped on one of the roofs and saw 3 Anbus appear in front of him and 3 more behind him. "I see that Danzo's aware that I'm here," Naruto thought. "Danzo has ordered us to bring you in," the Anbu with a dog mask in front of him said. "And what if I refuse?" Naruto asked. "Then we'll kill you." Naruto grinned. "Do you honestly think that you all can kill me?" All the Anbu gulped, knowing that this wouldn't turn out so great for them, but Danzo ordered them to do so. Naruto started to laugh. "If you wish to die, then come at me." The Anbu shook their heads and charged at the traitor. Naruto shook his head in disappointment, seeing how they were defiantly Danzo's little dogs. Naruto crossed his arms across his chest and shot them separately, sending a shockwave of wind that was strong enough to blow them all back. What could I do to draw Danzo out? Aha! Naruto bit his thumb and ran through a few hand signs, as he slammed his palm to the ground. Summoning Jutsu. A large puff of smoke covered the roof, but cleared to reveal Gamabunta, as the building they were on top began to get crushed. Naruto jumped up and landed on top of the giant toad's head. "What is it now, kid?" Gamabunta asked. It's time we give this village a different look. What? You're wanting to crush the leaf? Just do what I say. Gamabunta sighed, as he pulled out his sword and started to slice some of the buildings in half. Naruto looked down at all the villagers running all over the place and could hear all their screaming. Gamabunta then hopped to a different area of the village and landed on a building just to end up crushing it flat due to his size. He then began to slice other nearby buildings in half. Elsewhere, Lord Danzo, the Jinchuriki, is destroying the village. An Anbu with a bear mask said, "I've realized." The old man replied, "What should we do? We'll wait to see what Lady Tsunade has planned. Once she makes her move, we'll join in after." "Yes, my lord." Hokage's office. Tsunade was standing in front of her window seeing the giant toad attacking the village. Kakashi remained standing in front of her desk along with Team Asuma and Kurenai waiting for her orders. "I can't believe you would go this far, Naruto. I thought you wanted to protect this village and everyone you cared for." Tsunade thought. "Lord Hokage, we don't have much time, what are your orders?" Kakashi asked. Tsunade sighed, "Kakashi, I want you to go find Yamato and go deliver the news that Naruto's attacking our village. Inform them that he's back and might go after them next. Make sure they prepare themselves and are well aware of it. But, shouldn't we be here to help?" "No, I'm going to be the one to take care of him." The people in her office went wide-eyed since she was going to go against Naruto herself. Kakashi nodded and went off to look for Yamato. "As for the rest of you, you all will aid me." They all nodded in response. "Now, let's go," Tsunade shouted, as they all left the office and made their way to the exit of the building. Main gates of Konoha. Teen Guy along with Sakura looked around and saw Kotetsu along with Azumo lying on the ground covered in blood. They ran over to them and realized that they were both still alive. Sakura quickly placed her hands above them both and began to heal them at the same time. Kotetsu was breathing heavily since the sharp pain was still there and tried to say something. "What happened?" Neji asked. "We were attacked. The Akatsuki, right?" "Why, yes. Did you get a good look of who the Akatsuki was?" Tenten asked. "It was. A big explosion came within the village, which drew their attention." "What?" Kotetsu made groaning sounds, as the gang looked back at Kotetsu and Naruto. He finally managed to say. They all went wide-eyed. "Did you just say Naruto?" Lee asked. "Why, yes." Sakura began to shake in fear. "Naruto wouldn't attack his own village though." Tenten yelled. "He tried to kill us though." Neji looked back at the village and saw a giant toad destroying buildings and could see someone above it. He couldn't quite see well since it was so far away. Byakugan. He began to get closer and closer of seeing whom it was. Once he saw the blonde spiky hair, it hit him. Neji hung his head not believing that Kotetsu was right. Tenten and Lee looked at him. "Well?" Tenten asked. "It is Naruto." The two froze in their spot, as Sakura kept shaking and feeling hurt now. "Lee, stay here and protect Sakura till she's done healing them. Tenten and I will go see where the Hokage is," Neji said. "All right," Lee replied. Neji looked at Tenten and nodded, as the two took off back into the village. Back with Naruto. Naruto was laughing at how Danzo made his dogs make a huge mistake. He knew they would and wanted them to so that he could draw Danzo out himself. "Come on out, Danzo. You have to come out here soon," Naruto shouted. Gamabunta continued to destroy more and more buildings. "Naruto." The blonde looked behind him to see Tsunade standing on top of her summoned Katsuyu. Well, it's been a while, Granny." Naruto, stop this now. Why are you destroying your village? I thought you wanted to protect this village. To tell you the truth, Granny, I feel like I belong with the Akatsuki. It makes me feel amazing. I can't allow you to completely destroy this village. Tsunade jumped up off Katsuyu and made her summon disappear. Naruto did the exact same, as he landed on the ground to see Tsunade a few feet away from him. "Are you going to get in my way, Granny? Why are you doing this though, Naruto?" Tsunade asked. "Because I'm here for Danzo, and since he sent his dogs after me. I thought that if I started destroying this village that he would come out. But it looks like I'm wrong. Maybe, just maybe, he would come out if I was to kill you." Naruto then vanished in a quick flash, which shocked Tsunade. She then felt him behind her, as she jumped away from him just before he pierced her with a kunai. "Pretty good, Granny, but this time I won't allow you anytime." He took a step forward and then came to a halt. Well, just as I expected, I knew you would have them come help you." Naruto, that's enough, Shikamaru said, as Ino, Choji, and Team Kurenai were standing behind him. I don't think so. Naruto closed his eyes and began to absorb natural energy. You know Shikamaru, I would like to thank you for that. Shikamaru was confused, why's that? Tsunade tensed up a bit. Shikamaru. Release him. Shikamaru looked at Tsunade then back to Naruto. You know Shikamaru, keeping me still like this just gave me enough time. The blonde opened his eyes to reveal his sage mode. He flickered a shock of his chakra to break through the shadow possession. Granny, if you thought my speed was fast earlier, you got a lot more to see in this mode. Tsunade charged at him, adding chakra to her fist. Naruto remained where he was with a smirk on his face, as Tsunade approached him. She shot her fist forward at the blonde, but Naruto instantly caught her punch, which sent a shockwave due to the impact. The two teams stood their ground trying not to be blown back from the shockwave. Tsunade added chakra to her other fist and began to send series of punches at the blonde. However, Naruto simply kept dodging them all with ease. Naruto still had that smirk on his face. Choji jumped in and attempted to punch Naruto from behind, but Naruto was well aware of it and also managed to dodge his blows as well with ease. Kiba was now the one to jump in and mimic the Hokage and Choji. Naruto, still having no problem dodging them all, was getting tired of this and sent a shockwave of his chakra to push them back a bit. He grabbed Choji by the arm from behind and pulled it back till it snapped out of place. The poor Akamichi screamed out in pain, as the blonde then pulled out a kunai from his cloak and charged at Kiba next. The Inuzuka grabbed his own kunai and also charged in toward the traitor. Ino, once I get a hold of him again with my possession, you need to use your transfer. Shikamaru mentioned. She simply nodded, holding her arms out, showing the sign of using her transfer. Kiba swung his kunai at the blonde, but Naruto collided his against Kiba's. You know, Mutt, there's one mistake about you using a kunai to match mine. Naruto said. Oh yeah, brat? Then show me. Naruto grinned and added chakra to his kunai, as it took on a form of a chakra blade. He then pulled his chakra blade back and swung it vertically at Kiba. The Inuzuka tried to block it, but the chakra blade ended up slicing the kunai in two. Kiba was shocked, which left his guard down. Just as Naruto was about to slash Kiba, Akamaru jumped up at the blonde and bit down on his arm. Naruto groaned in slight pain. Damn Mutt. Kiba shook his head, seeing that Naruto was about to slice Akamaru in two, so he quickly tackled Naruto to the ground and started delivering blows to his face, while Akamaru kept jerking the blonde's arm around. The poor blonde was getting really annoyed. Enough. He shot a powerful gust of wind, causing Kiba and Akamaru to get pushed back with the others. Naruto got back up to his feet and dusted himself off. You know, I think I had enough going easy on you all. The blonde then crossed his fingers together. Shadow clone jutsu. Several puffs of smoke scattered through the area to reveal hundreds of clones. I think it's time I step it up a tad bit. The real Naruto turned around and charged after Tsunade, while the clones went in after the others. This startled the busted Hokage a bit, as she instantly got back on her guard on time to block a mid-kick from the traitor. You know, Granny, if you hadn't decided to get in my way, I would have let you live. I honestly don't have interest in you or anyone else right now. I can't allow you to harm anyone in this village, she replied. Naruto shook his head low and sighed. If that's how it's going to be, so be it. He shot his head up and glared at the Hokage and elbowed her in the gut, which knocked the wind out of her. Doing so caused her to lose her guard, as Naruto delivered a couple of punches to her lower chest and then a kick to her stomach, which sent her crashing into a building. Naruto grinned, not liking how easy this was turning out, but then he realized that they were holding back since they were wanting to bring him back more rather than kill him. He scratched the back of his head, waiting for Tsunade to come out. Come on, Granny, I know you're better than that. You're right, Tsunade said, as she came out from the crater from the building. She then removed her green robe. I think I'll have to get serious now, she said. Naruto just smirked. You may say that, but I don't think that. He was shocked to see her gone, but she reappeared right behind him, which shocked him. She then sent a straightforward punch right to the middle of his back, which sent him crashing into the same building that he sent her into, but this time, the building started to crumble to pieces, as it collapsed down on the blonde. Tsunade then turned to see that the gang easily took care of the clones. It's over. There's no way he could still be willing to The sound of rubble hitting the ground came from where Naruto was, as she turned around to see Naruto coming out from the pile, willing to what? Did you honestly think that would end the fight? Tsunade was awestruck. That should have ruptured your spine. Naruto began to laugh. I forgot, these past 2 years, I developed some new techniques that would fit to my advantages. You see? He then showed a wind armor that was surrounding him. This armor made of wind helps reduce damage by a lot. The way it works is that when I'm attacked by physical attacks, the wind slows down your attack, making it not as strong as you think it should have been. I guess you can say it's like Gaara's sand armor. When it comes to ninjutsu, it'll absorb some of it, but I'll still take the hit, just it won't be as bad as it would have been. The armor then reverted back so that it couldn't be seen. When did you come up with that and when did you use it? The Hokage asked. Well, first, I activated it when I made those clones, and I came up with this when I was locked up training for 2 years like I said earlier. So that's why you've been quiet for so long. Naruto shrugged. Guess you can say that. So, what if that armor of yours was being eaten and it was fading? Naruto chuckled, knowing what Tsunade was meaning. She knows bugs will just end up being blown away, or I could make it to where they'll be sliced into pieces. Tsunade was mentally cursing to herself not being able to come up with someone to beat this wind armor of his. Here I come. Tsunade shook her head and saw that Naruto was coming. She attempted her move first by sending a kick straight to his head, but he easily dodged by ducking. He looked up at her with a smirk, as she looked down at him with a smirk as well. She shot her leg down on the blonde's back, which caused him to slam down into the ground. The blonde Hokage smiled, but felt a hand on her ankle. She looked down to see Naruto grinning at her, as she was sent flying toward the gang. However, Neji jumped in and caught the Hokage to keep her from colliding with the others. Naruto cocked an eyebrow. Well, I was wondering when you would. Take this. Naruto turned around and saw Tenten in the air with a scroll open, as several types of different weapons came raining down at the blonde, which caused a dust cloud to prevent from seeing what happened. Tenten then sealed the scroll back up when her assault stopped and landed back down on the ground. Tsunade finally got a hold of herself and stood in front of Neji and the others. My, still with the fancy weapons I see Tenten. The bun-haired girl was awestruck when the dust cleared and saw that there wasn't a single scratch on the blonde. Naruto looked down at all the weapons. Which one should I use? His eyes examined the place till they finally found something pretty interesting to use. Aha. He grabbed a two-sided scythe and held it up to get a good look at it. This looks rather interesting. He tossed it up, and once he grabbed it again, he took off toward Tenten with insane speed. Tenten quickly pulled out another scroll, but before she could summon a weapon, her scroll was cut in half by the scythe from Naruto. Damn it, Neji said, as he went after Naruto. Tenten was hopeless now and looked at Naruto with fear in her eyes. The blonde grinned, but before he was going to make his move on her, he quickly turned to face Neji, who was closing in on him. Naruto jumped slightly and sent Neji a roundhouse kick, but the Hyuga easily dodged it. 8 trigrams air palm. Neji shot his palm out, which sent the blonde flying high up to the air. Neji placed his hands on Tenten's shoulders. Are you okay? Tenten shook her head to snap out of her fear. Yes. How cute. Neji and Tenten both looked to the side to see Naruto slowly coming up to them. It's about time you two ended up together. It's sad that you're all going to die anyway. Naruto, why? Naruto sighed. Do I always have to repeat myself? I already said I feel like that I belong with the Akatsuki. Not that, Neji said. Naruto tilted his head. Then what? Why did you try to kill the gate guards? Everyone was shocked, except for Neji and Tenten, since they already knew. Naruto grinned and then began to laugh like a madman. They're still alive? Darn, I'll have to make sure I finish the job next time. Well, because people that get in my way of my mission will die. Well, they're barely alive. So you really did try to kill them. Naruto smirked. Yep. Tenten looked over at Neji. I don't think Sakura is going to take this well. Naruto chuckled. Who cares? Everyone eyed the blonde. We all do. Everyone said at the same time. Naruto cocked an eyebrow and began to laugh. I see. The blonde then twirled the two-sided scythe around. Then allow me to make you all nod. Just before Naruto took off, he came to an instant halt once again. He chuckled. Shikamaru, you want to do? Then the blonde's mind just clicked. Shikamaru looked over at Ino, then back at Naruto, and realized he wasn't moving at all. She did it, now's our chance to take him in, Shikamaru said, as he picked Ino up. Tsunade walked over to the Uzumaki and sighed. She then picked him up and put him over her shoulder. What are we going to do with Naruto? Hinata asked. We need to lock him up first and talk to the council about this. I'm in, there's nothing you can do now, Naruto, Ino said, in his mind. Ah, so that's what you two were doing, Naruto said. Don't bother trying, Naruto, we're going to bring you in. Naruto was laughing insanely. Then allow me to show you something. The scene in Naruto's mind changed into a sewage-looking place. Ino was confused of what was going on. The next thing that Ino saw was a giant cage in front of her, and she could hear low growling sounds coming from within it. What are you showing me? Naruto chuckled and walked over to the cage. He then turned his back to the cage and held his arms up on each side. Low growls came closer and became louder till a pair of eyes was seen within the shadow. What is it, kid? I want to borrow some of your power. He kept his eyes on Ino and grinned at her. Fine. The fox then stretched one of its legs out and grabbed a hold of Naruto. It then lifted him up into the air, as red chakra began to go into the blonde. Naruto closed his eyes and began to laugh. He opened his eyes to show Ino his now slit red eyes, as what will draw Danzo out. Ino gasped, but was completely blown out of his mind. Ino opened her eyes and gasped. Shikamaru placed her down, as they all stopped to look at her. What's wrong? He's. Tsunade dropped Naruto, while everyone looked at him and saw that red chakra began to form around him. Tsunade sent a full-powered on punch, but Naruto jumped up out of the way to avoid it. Naruto jumped up to a pile of rubble and looked down at the gang. You see, during my training, I ended up figuring out how to control the 9 tails. I can go up to 6 tails now and still remain in control, but the effects after deactivating it will cause some problems on my part. But, I ended up developing something different. I call it the 9 tails chakra mode. It's still something I haven't fully mastered yet, but I'd rather save that for later. The chakra around Naruto started to form 3 tails behind him. I'll just go with this as of now. The blonde jumped down and went straight for Tsunade. The Hokage jumped up at the blonde and kneed him in the chin to send him back up to the air. Lord Hokage, we need to get reinforcements, Neji mentioned. Tsunade took her eyes off Naruto and looked down at the gang. Go find Ibiki and Yugao. Neji nodded and darted off with the rest of the gang in search for the two. Tsunade looked back up, but was instantly sent crashing down to the ground below her after receiving a punch to her gut. Naruto then landed on a roof of a building and looked down at it. He then grabbed out several sheets of explosive tags and placed them all over the building. Taking a far distance, he activated them all, as they all blew up, causing the building to crumble. Tsunade finally got back up to her feet and saw Naruto standing in front of her. It's about time, he said. Quickly, the blonde sent a devastating uppercut to the Hokage, which sent her up to the air. He then jumped up after her and delivered several punches to her midsection, followed by a roundhouse kick that made impact with her head and was sent flying into a pile of rubble. Naruto then fell back down to the ground and walked over to where she was. Several Anbu then surrounded the boy and they all pulled out their swords. Naruto looked around and chuckled, seeing more of Danzo's dogs. You all wish to die too? All the Anbu didn't respond and just charged in after the blonde, while a couple of them stayed back and performed a series of hand signs. Naruto laughed as grabbed one of them and threw him into another one. One of the Anbu behind him swung his sword up vertically and successfully slashed him. Naruto instantly turned around and grabbed the Anbu by both his arms. Bad choice. He then yanked the arms apart and literally tore them right off the Anbu's body. He held his hand out and formed a Rasengan, but it wasn't its ordinary blue one. Instead, it was red, as the blonde shoved it right against the Anbu to his side. Naruto's body was getting slightly sluggish. Damn it, I'm using too much chakra on little things like this. Best I stick to taijutsu. Naruto then cancelled the Kyuubi's chakra, as it went back into his body. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Naruto looked behind him to see 2 other Anbus that just shot the giant incoming fireballs. Naruto grabbed a kunai out from his cloak and added chakra to it once again to make it a chakra blade. He swung it horizontally to cancel the 2 fireballs and darted right after the 2 Anbu. The 2 Anbu prepared, waiting for the blonde to close in on them, but just as he was about to, he vanished. Behind you. The two Anbu turned around, but were both slashed across their chest. Naruto laughed yet again at the failed attempt from Danzo's dogs. He then looked around and saw nothing more except for dead corpses of the Anbu. This is Tuaya. Heaven kick of pain. Naruto quickly looked up to see Tsunade, but before he could even think of dodging, the Hokage slammed her foot down at the blonde's head and sent him into the ground. Tsunade then jumped back, keeping her distance from where Naruto is. She knew that didn't end it, but she knew that she got a good hit on him. Naruto slowly got back up to his feet and rubbed his head. He then looked at her, still deadly as ever. He said, after taking a hit like that, he could feel himself not being able to move near as fast as he used to now. Tsunade examined closely and saw something that was off. She looked closer to see that his wind armor was now gone. The Hokage smiled, now I can step it up. Naruto jumped a bit to see that she realized that he was now able to take full-on hits. Tsunade then added chakra to both her hands and feet, which gave them an incredible enhance in strength. She then instantly charged at the blonde with faster speed this time. Naruto crossed his fingers, shadow clone jutsu. Once again, hundreds of his clones appeared in the area and all charged at her. She quickly took out a few of them and looked back to see that Naruto was still standing in the same spot. She kept her eyes on the real one and simply dodged the incoming clones. Once she was closing in on the real one, she took one last step and sent a punch straight for his face. The blonde was sent flying, but before he crashed against something, he turned into a puff of smoke. She looked back behind her to see the clones coming and quickly took them all out. Looking around the area, she couldn't spot him anywhere now nor feel his chakra. Then it hit her, she looked down at the ground to see a crack forming and then it was too late. Naruto shot himself out of the ground and sent a punch up at her jaw, which caused her to fall back. He landed next to her and looked down at her to see that she was unconscious. You know, Granny, that was fun and all. But, I can't allow you to get in my way anymore, he said to the unconscious Hokage. Naruto grabbed a kunai from the ground and looked back at her, goodbye. Just before he was about to end her life, he looked up a bit and was kicked on his face, which caused him to slide back a few feet away. He looked at the person and realized that it was an Anbu that had a cat-like mask with long brown hair. More of Danzo's dogs? Naruto. A feminine voice came from the Anbu. What? I can't allow you to go on with this. She then grabbed her mask and removed it. Naruto's eyes widened, never thinking that this girl was an Anbu or on top of that, turned out to be a shinobi, a Ayame. Yes, Naruto. Naruto's expression slowly changed from shock to insane, as a smile slowly formed on his face. He then began to laugh at her. You were a shinobi, huh? Yes, I retired a few years ago from an incident that my partner caused. And who was your partner? His name was Itachi Uchiha. Naruto instantly went back to his shocked expression. Why, you mean, you were partnered with Itachi when he was a shinobi of the leaf? That means you know some of his moves. Yes, but there are things that I regret doing and never told my father. Back then, I did serve as one of Danzo's people. And when he realized that I was partnered with Itachi, he gave me something. Naruto began to tremble, as Ayame closed her eyes. I regret going through this back then, but now I feel that I should use them. She opened her eyes to reveal the Sharingan. Sharingan? How? You're not even an Uchiha. Naruto asked. Danzo has collected the eyes of fallen Uchiha and kept their eyes for himself. But he gave me a pair to follow up with Itachi. So you're just like Kakashi then. Ayame shook her head. Kakashi received his Sharingan from a friend that gave him it as a gift. How come I didn't hear about this? Naruto asked. Because he put binding seals on the tongue of every Anbu. If they were to tell anyone such as the Hokage or villagers, they would be paralyzed for a long time. Then how come that didn't happen to you? Because he didn't put one on me. That means Danzo probably has a secret trick with the Sharingan eyes then. I'm afraid you're right, boy. An old man's voice came from behind him. Naruto turned around and saw Danzo standing before him. It's such a pleasant to see you again, Ayame. I was wanting to see how you were doing with those eyes. Danzo said. Ayame ignored the old man and kept her eyes on Naruto. Naruto, I'm going to ask you one more time, will you please come back? Naruto turned around to look at her, while Danzo took this opportunity and started to unravel his bandages. Naruto didn't know what to say. He was still completely shocked from hearing Ayame's story and that the fact Danzo came out as well. Shortly after, Naruto slowly came to his senses. I can't. Yes you can, Ayame yelled. Naruto boy. Danzo called. The blonde turned around and saw Danzo without his bandages. He went back to his shocked expression to see his Sharingan eyes and then looked at his right arm to see 10 Sharingan eyes all over it. What the hell? Danzo then inhaled air and shot out a single wind bullet. Naruto had no time to react, as it pierced him through his left shoulder like an actual bullet. The blonde jumped back and placed his right hand over his left shoulder. When he landed he looked behind him to see that he was right in the middle of Danzo and Ayame. Damn it, this isn't going to be good if Ayame's in it. There's no telling what she can do, he thought. Since the boy here has attacked the village, this will give me a chance to report this to the council and have Tsunade revoked from being Hokage and allow me to take her place, which means I don't have to hide these eyes anymore. I'm sorry to tell you Danzo, but you won't be becoming the Hokage once I've killed you. The blonde said. He grabbed a kunai from his cloak and added chakra to it to turn into a chakra blade again. Foolish boy, you honestly think you can kill me when you're in my village? Just then, several more Anbu appeared around the blonde. You don't even stand a chance against this village. Naruto ignored him and immediately charged after him. All the Anbu didn't allow him, as they all formed a line in front of Danzo to prevent the blonde from going any further. Naruto came to a halt and shot his arm to the side, which sent a wave of strong wind and caused the Anbu to be blown away. The old man stood there grinning at the blonde. Come at me then boy. Naruto gritted his teeth and attempted to charge in after him, but then Ayame appeared in front of him. Naruto jumped back a bit, but Ayame was high on him and darted after him. TCK. The brunette woman then sent series of punches at him, while Naruto was dodging every one of them barely. You won't be going any further Naruto. I'll be the one to stop you, the brunette said, as she then delivered a sidekick to his ribs, which caused the blonde to drop his chakra blade. Naruto coughed up some blood. Damn it, she's too fast and with this wound from that wind, I can't keep up with her like this. The blonde thought. He looked past her to see that Danzo was still there with that smirk on his face, as he watched them. The blonde then looked back at Ayame, but just got the wind knocked out of him after receiving an elbow to the gut from her. He hunched over with his eyes wide, while Ayame then kneed him in the face to make him stand up straight. She then kicked up at his jaw to send him up in the air. Damn it, this isn't going to work. Her taijutsu is way faster than mine. I need to use my sage mode. He looked down to see Ayame below him, but she then disappeared in a flash. Naruto's eyes widened to see her right above him. The brunette then slammed her leg down at the blonde's stomach and sent him crashing down to the ground. A massive dust cloud was formed due to how hard the impact was from receiving the kick and to when he crashed to the ground. Ayame then landed down next to where Naruto had crashed, as she remained there waiting for him to get up. She then saw a bright blue light coming right at her, as she ducked to avoid it. When it was right above her, she saw that it was a Rasengan that Naruto had tried to get her with. She then looked in front of her to see the blonde and kicked him straight in the gut, which sent him flying through the dust and into a semi-destroyed building. Danzo was amused watching one of his old dogs easily taking care of the traitor, as he laughed quietly. Danzo? The old man turned around to see Sai. Ah, perfect timing. Take Tsunade over there and get her away from here. Sai looked over to the right of Danzo and saw the unconscious Hokage. Yes sir. The pale-skinned boy walked over to the Hokage and picked her up, as he vanished in a swirl of ink. He then looked back over at the two to see that Ayame was just standing there waiting on the blonde to still come out from the now destroyed building. However, Danzo then felt a strange aura coming from around the area. He looked around and felt that it was being absorbed to where the blonde was. Ayame. He's absorbing natural energy, stop him. The brunette turned to look at the old man and back to where Naruto is, as she immediately charged after him. Naruto's eyes now showed his sage mode, as he was still absorbing more energy, but he could feel Ayame closing in on him. Damn it, this won't be enough, but it'll have to do for now. He quickly shot himself toward Ayame, which shocked her since his speed was a lot faster than it was. The blonde grabbed her ankle and raised her to the air, as he then slammed her into the ground. He then looked over at the old man and took this chance, as the blonde summoned a couple of clones. The original one held his hand out, as the two clones began to form a Rasengan. I only have one shot at this, I have to make it count. The Rasengan then took on the look of a shuriken-shaped form. The clones puffed away, as Naruto held his hand up high, wind style. Rasen Shuriken. The blonde then threw it straight at the old man, while his eyes reverted back to his normal form. Danzo didn't move at all, as he kept the same smirk on his face. Naruto watched as his Rasen Shuriken was closing in on him. He can't escape now. So the blonde thought. The Rasen Shuriken then collided against the old man and kept spinning against him. After a few seconds, it faded to reveal Danzo lying down covered in blood. Yes, the blonde then fell to one knee, but just as he did, he felt a pair of hands around his neck. He then was slammed face first into the ground and was lifted back up, as he was tossed into a pile of rubble. Naruto shook his head and saw that as was Ayame back on her feet. "Don't think that you're done here," the brunette said, as she performed a few hand signs. Naruto recognized it, as he activated his wind armor once more and sent a shockwave of wind at her. "Fire style. Grand Fireball Jutsu," she shouted, as she shot a much larger fireball compared to any other towards him. It was large enough that it managed to push through the wave of wind and continued on towards its target. Naruto's eyes widened, as he sent more and more shockwaves of wind desperately trying to stop it from coming any closer. Sadly, none of them managed to even slow it down. Damn it! The giant fireball then crashed right against the blonde and then exploded, as the flames were now burning anything that was near where it exploded. Ayame stood there and knew well enough that there was no way that would have finished him. The blonde then came walking out slowly with his left arm hanging down and completely burned, as his wind armor completely wore off. Naruto chuckled, which caught the brunette's attention. "What's so funny?" she asked. "I'm highly impressed of you, that's all. What I'm about to use is something I was planning on saving for Danzo, but it seems that he won't be here anymore." The blonde started to gain a chakra shroud that resembles the Sage of the Six Paths silhouette. The color of his eyes changed from blue to orange instead of red. The form of his Nine Tails chakra mode is yellow instead of red and releases chakra as it flickers flames, instead of it releasing burning acidic bubbles like it would in his four-tailed form. Ayame was shocked to see that he was going this far to stop her. However, she had a few tricks of her own to keep up with him. Naruto. The blonde and brunette looked to the side to see that it was Neji and the rest of the gang were back with Ibiki and Yugao that Tsunade requested for. "That's far enough, Naruto," Yugao said, as she looked behind him to see Danzo lying there showing no sign of life. "You're all foolish," the blonde said. Kiba gritted his teeth, while Choji was being flooded with frustration since his so-called friend broke his arm. Yugao then looked over at the brunette. "Ah, it's been quite some time, Ayame," the purple-haired woman said. The rest of the gang looked at the brunette with complete shock. "Ayame's a shinobi?" they all asked, except for Ibiki. "Yes, but this is no time to talk," the brunette said, as they all looked at Naruto. This is going to be harder now since they're back. Plus, Naruto's gaze focused on Ibiki. "I have no clue what Ibiki's capable of." "Human boulder." Naruto snapped out of it and saw Choji rolling toward him. Naruto laughed. "You think such a childish move will work?" Neji then jumped in and appeared behind Naruto, which the blonde turned around quickly enough to dodge a strike from the Hyuga. Neji then jumped back, as Naruto turned back around quickly since he forgot about Choji and was hit, but he simply stopped the Akamichi. He then lifted him up, still in his boulder form, as the blonde threw him toward the gang. Choji reverted back to his normal form, while Kiba and Shikamaru caught him. Yugao and Ayame charged in with their swords drawn, as the two kept switching places trying to throw Naruto off guard. The blonde chuckled, but heard a ragged chain sound from above, as he looked up to see Tenten throw a steel chain down at him. He quickly grabbed the chain and spun it around, as he threw it back up at her. The bund-haired girl quickly dodged it and went back to the gang. Naruto was confused, but also forgot about the two Anbu. He quickly looked back in front of him and quickly dodged the swings coming from the two. They continued their assault with quick swings, while the blonde was easily dodging every one of them, while taking steps back each time he did. He felt something against his back, as a pile of rubble stopped him from backing up anymore. The two Anbu swung their swords down, while Naruto quickly jumped to the side. Just then, he felt a sharp pain from his back. He looked behind him to see that it was Tenten with her own sword. With a quick swipe of his arm, he sliced her sword in half. Tenten backed away, as Neji and Hinata jumped in, while they both attempted to strike his chakra points. Naruto once again easily dodged the attacks, but without the blonde knowing, something was forming on the ground he was standing on. Shortly, both Hyugas jumped back to join with the group. Naruto turned to face them with a huge grin on his face. Is that all you have? Summoning Jutsu. Iron Maiden. Naruto saw that it was Ibiki who said it, as the blonde looked down to see that a statue of a cat had came up. What the hell? The blonde shouted, as the statue closed in on him, which trapped him inside. Chains came out from the ground and wrapped around the statue and pulled it back underground. Did it work? Shikamaru asked. I don't think that'll hold him long enough. Ibiki answered. Look, Ino shouted and pointed to where the blonde once was. Everyone looked and saw that the ground where the blonde was turned red. The ground then exploded, as red chakra shot out like crazy. I knew that wouldn't work. I need to end this now. Ayame thought, as she performed several hand signs. Naruto came out from the ground, but he wasn't in his nine tails chakra mode anymore. He was back to his normal form and had cuts all over his body, as he started to breath heavily. Damn you, Ibiki. The blonde said. Naruto, just give up, you're pushing yourself too hard. Neji said. No, I'll never give up. I'm not going to let such weaklings kill me here or try to bring me back to this forsaken village. I've already said it once and I'll say it again. I belong with the Akatsuki. I become stronger than one of you. The blonde shouted, as he pointed at everyone. I don't care for any one of you. I have already killed what may have been a problem, but it turns out he was nothing. The past 2 years of my training has resulted me of becoming the strongest shinobi alive and I will never fall to anyone. He's lost it, Shikamaru said. Ayame then performed her last hand sign, as it started to get dark. I'm sorry Naruto, but this will free yourself. Ayame said, as a single tear slid down her cheek. The blonde looked up to see several clouds, as he saw flashes of light within them. Naruto began to laugh. Perfect. The blonde performed hand signs. With the clouds still there, strong winds started to pick up along with it. Naruto looked at Ayame and the gang, while they all looked at him. Wind style, great wind surge. The blonde yelled. Lightning style, lightning destruction. Ayame said. Above the blonde, several lightning bolts came striking down at the blonde, while behind him, extremely strong wind gusts shot at the gang. The wind was so strong that it cut along their skin and sent them all flying into the pile of chunked building pieces. Naruto remained standing, but more lightning came striking down at him. The lightning shortly then stopped, as the blonde looked up and saw one more forming above him. The last one took form of a dragon with red eyes, as it roared and came down at him. So, this is it then? No. I won't allow it. The dragon-like lightning bolt struck down at him. Short after, the clouds faded away, as the sun came back and lightened the semi-destroyed village. It turned out to be a complete destruction due to the collision of wind and lightning. 2 figures appeared in the middle of the mess. We were too late, Sakura-chan. Lee said. The pink-hair medic looked around the area and saw nothing but rubble and dead corpses of Anbu. Lee looked at a pile of destroyed building pieces and saw an arm hanging out from it. He quickly ran to it and quickly began to remove chunks of it. Sakura rushed over to help him, as she grabbed the arm and pulled the person out. Tenten, Lee yelled. The bun-haired woman coughed and opened her eyes slightly. There's others, she said before she went unconscious. Lee quickly began to remove every last piece there was, while Sakura helped him. A few minutes later, Lee and Sakura freed everyone from the mess, but all of them were out unconscious. Sakura looked them over and her eyes fixed on the brunette that was breathing to realize that she was conscious and that it was Ayame. She was shocked to see her, but decided to not bother asking her questions yet and started to heal her. Sakura then realized that there was no way she was going to be able to heal them all. Lee, I need you to go find Shizune and have her bring over some medics. Yes, Sakura-chan, Lee yelled and took off in incredible speed. Sakura, the pink-haired girl looked down at Ayame. Stay quiet, your injuries are pretty bad. Is everyone alright? The brunette asked. They're all unconscious, but they'll be fine once Shizune and the other medics get here. Ayame smiled. Good. Sounds of rubble falling from a pile came from behind Sakura, as she got up and looked at that direction. She saw someone crawling slowly and looked closely to see blonde hair. SS Sakura-chan. The person then rolled down and landed on the flat ground in front of Sakura a few feet away from her. Her eyes widened, as did Ayame's. Naruto? Yes? Sakura, help me please. Ayame rolled over on her stomach and grabbed Sakura's ankle. Don't do it. Sakura. Sakura looked down at her and back at Naruto. She honestly didn't know what to do. The cloak that Naruto was wearing was completely gone and was only wearing his usual pants that he had underneath it. His upper body was badly cut and bruised, as some of his cuts were still bleeding. Please Sakura, help me. I wish to live and show you my love for you. Ayame went shocked knowing that he was going to use her. Sakura, don't. With that outburst, she coughed up some blood. Sakura began walking over to him, while Ayame couldn't find herself to speak anymore due to how much it would hurt. Sakura then stopped in front of Naruto and got down on her knees, as she flipped him onto his back. She looked down at him with tears in her eyes, as she lowered herself down to kiss him on his lips. Naruto didn't return it though. Sakura then pulled away and began to heal him, but she decided to speed up her process, as she added more chakra into it. Naruto smirked seeing how she felt for it. A few minutes later, the blonde could feel himself coming back to normal. Yes, this feels much better, although this isn't my full potential, it'll have to do. I need to get out of here now. The blonde looked up at Sakura. Thank you, Sakura-chan, but that's enough. The pink-haired medic got up to her feet, as did the blonde. She looked at him and wrapped her arms around him tightly and cried into his shoulder. You have no idea how much I've missed you. Naruto wrapped his arms around her as well. I know Sakura. He smirked, as he grabbed a kunai from her back pouch. Ayame tried to get up, but couldn't find the strength to do so. Sakura, get away from him. Sakura tried to back away to see what it was, but she was instantly stopped, as her eyes widened. Naruto grinned, as he stabbed her in the back and left the kunai like it was. She looked at him. Why Naruto? You were always so easy to get through, Sakura. He let go of her, as she fell to the ground on her stomach. He looked over at Ayame and walked over to her next. The brunette tried so desperately to get back to her feet, but she still had no luck. She gave up once she saw Naruto standing in front of her. Goodbye, Ayame. The blonde rose his foot up, getting ready to stomp on her head. She closed her eyes waiting for her life to be ended, but it never happened. She opened them again and saw Naruto still standing there. Naruto's eyes widened after receiving such a strong wind bullet go right through his gut. He slowly backed away with his hands over where the bullet pierced him, as Ayame rolled over onto her back and saw whom she was waiting on. About time, she thought. You did a good job, Ayame, but I'll take over from here. Danzo said. How are you alive? I saw you die. The blonde asked. That's none of your business, boy. Naruto jumped back, getting a good distance from the old man. I see. Naruto then closed his eyes and began absorbing natural energy. Danzo smirked and allowed the boy to change into his sage mode. Naruto then opened his eyes to reveal his sage mode and charged at Danzo with a kunai in his hand. Foolish boy. I can't afford to use that wind jutsu anymore right now. That really took a lot out of me. The blonde thought to himself. He quickly added chakra to the kunai and made it into a chakra blade. Naruto quickly swung his blade horizontally aligned with Danzo's chest, but he easily dodged it. Naruto got a good look at his arm and realized that there were only 9 Sharingan eyes now. Danzo quickly inhaled some air, while the blonde realized what was coming and quickly jumped back away from him. Danzo shot out several wind bullets at the blonde, but Naruto managed to dodge some of them. However, the last wind bullet ended up piercing through his right thigh, which caused him to fall on one knee. Damn it, those bullets are way too fast. Just give it up, demon. Naruto gritted his teeth, hating being called demon since it would always remind him of when the villagers would always call him that and beat him to a bloody pulp when he was a child. Never. The blonde got back up to his feet, ignoring the minor pain coming from his thigh. He crossed his fingers. Shadow clone jutsu. Hundreds puff of smoke surrounded the area to reveal several of his clones. This won't help you at all, Danzo mentioned. All the clones yelled in anger and charged in at him. Just you wait and see then. They all shouted. Danzo held his arms out separately and spun his body in a full degree turn, which shot out a wind vortex at the clones. The vortex was too much for them, as all the clones puffed away. Danzo then looked around and couldn't spot the real Naruto anywhere. That was until he heard a cracking sound below him. He looked down and realized that he was about to come out from in the ground. Just as the blonde came out and attempted to punch up at Danzo's jaw, he easily jumped back to avoid it. You felt for it. Danzo looked at the Naruto that came from underneath, which puffed away. That was also a clone. He quickly turned around to see the Naruto right there with his chakra blade. Before Danzo could move, Naruto quickly slashed his blade down at his right shoulder and down to his midsection. Danzo jumped away from the blonde with an annoyed look on his face. What's the matter, Danzo? Already getting tired? Danzo smirked and grabbed a shuriken and held it flat in the palm of his hand. You still have a lot to learn, boy. What's he planning to do with a shuriken? The blonde thought to himself. Danzo then began to add wind chakra into the shuriken. He then exhaled a stream of vacuum-like chakra onto the shuriken in a pinwheel-like fashion, turning it into massive buzzsaw. Danzo then quickly threw it right toward the blonde. Naruto quickly ran toward it, and just as he was getting close to it, he quickly spun around it, avoiding from being slashed by it, and continued to charge after Danzo. The old man grinned as he jerked his arm back, which the buzzsaw spun around and came back aiming for the back of the blonde. Naruto quickly looked back behind him once he saw Danzo act like he was pulling something back to him and saw that the buzzsaw was nearly close from slashing against the back of his head. Naruto quickly ducked down, as the buzzsaw went flying right past him and went right back to Danzo, as he caught it. Ayame was still lying on the ground, still badly hurt, as she kept on watching her old master and her old friend fight it off. She was getting tired of watching the fight, but she had no choice in doing so. She heard people approaching and looked to her side and saw Lee with Shizune and a couple of other medics. Yeah, they need immediate attention, Shizune said to the medics, as she rushed over to Ayame, while the other medics went to heal the others. Lee, though, looked over and saw Naruto going up against Danzo and then looked back at the injured. Shizune got down on her knees and hovered her hands above the brunette's chest and began healing her. Ayame smiled, seeing how she would be joining in the battle here soon. Please heal me as fast as you can so I can go back and help Danzo, Ayame said. Shizune looked at her. You shouldn't continue on like that. No, I have to. Naruto needs to be released from himself so he can move on. Shizune's eyes softened. I'll go as fast as I can. Ayame smiled. Thank you. Back with Naruto. Naruto continued his path to the old man with his chakra blade tight in his grip, while Danzo threw his buzzsaw again and added more wind chakra to it so it could move a lot faster. Naruto stopped in his path and decided to try something different, as he held his chakra blade in front of him sideways. Danzo grinned, as his buzzsaw collided against Naruto's chakra blade. The blonde was struggling to retain it, but pushed himself slightly, trying to get the advantage of stopping it. Damn it, come on. Naruto gritted his teeth, as the buzzsaw started to push him back. Naruto then swung his blade sideways, which caused the buzzsaw to shoot up into the air, as he then jumped up and shot himself down at Danzo. You're done for, Danzo, Naruto shouted, as he shot his chakra blade down. Danzo smirked, as the chakra blade pierced through the top of the old man's head. Naruto landed down in front of the dead Danzo. Do you think that would work? Naruto quickly turned around to see Danzo there with a kunai that had a wind-like chakra blade. Before the blonde could move away, Danzo quickly stabbed his blade through Naruto's stomach. The old man then pushed his blade in further. Naruto coughed up blood and then kicked Danzo away, which made him lose his grip of the blade. The blonde grabbed the kunai of the blade and pulled it out quickly. He tossed it aside and breathed heavily, trying to bring himself back to focusing. The blonde then looked at Danzo's arm again to see that there was only 8 of them now. So, every time I end up killing him and he keeps coming back, one eye will close. Then I need to keep pushing him on to use them all up, Naruto thought. Naruto quickly summoned a couple of his clones, as he held out both of his hands. The clones both quickly formed a Rasengan in both of them, as they puffed away. Naruto quickly took off toward Danzo. You think you'll be able to hit me with that? Danzo yelled, as he too took off after the boy. Just as the two of them were getting closer, Naruto quickly brought his hands together and pushed the Rasengans together, as they fused together to become a much larger Rasengan. Danzo quickly jumped back and performed a few hand signs. You're too late, Danzo, Naruto shouted, as he was about to close in on him. Danzo smirked and slammed his hands down at the ground, Earth-style, mud wall. The ground shot up and took on a smooth solid wall. Naruto gritted his teeth and added a little of the Nine Tails chakra to it, as it changed from blue to red. He slammed the giant red Rasengan against the mud wall, as it was completed obliterated, but he still had his giant Rasengan formed. When he broke through the wall, he realized that Danzo wasn't seen anywhere. Naruto stood there looking around, as the Rasengan faded. "Come on out," Naruto shouted. Danzo appeared behind the blonde with his chakra blade in his hand once again. Naruto grabbed a kunai and quickly turned it into his own blade. Danzo held his blade up and stroked down at him. However, Naruto quickly turned around and intercepted it with his own. "Not bad, but you will lose in your current condition and I will be able to control the Nine Tails myself." Huh? Naruto was shocked, but Danzo broke the block and slashed his sword horizontally across the blonde's chest. Naruto's eyes went wide, as his blood shot out of his chest. Naruto jumped back, keeping his distance from Danzo. "What's the matter, boy?" Danzo taunted. "Damn it, I have to find out how to do this exactly." The blonde looked over at Danzo's arm again to see another one closing. "What? But I didn't deliver a hit to him that would kill him." "Wait, then he must have a time limit to it then. So he has 7 left. If I continue rushing him in this state, it'll turn out bad. If I try to stall time, then it might work. I think it's best if I plan out my rushing tactics." Danzo watched the boy and could tell he was planning something out. Looks like he figured it out. No matter, he won't be able to do much like that. Danzo took off after him before the boy came up with a plan. Naruto's body jumped slightly, as he grabbed his chakra blade again. Danzo formed a few hand signs before he closed in on him. Water style. Water wave. A giant wave of water came from behind the blonde, as it closed down on him. Danzo jumped up in the air and looked down at where the blonde once was. "Where are you looking at?" The blonde was breathing heavily, as blood came out of his stomach from where Danzo had stabbed him earlier. Naruto crossed his fingers. Shadow clone jutsu. A few clones appeared and surrounded Danzo, as the old man looked around the area. "Do you think such a trick like this will help you?" Danzo asked. "You'll see," all the clones shouted, as they all charged in after him. Danzo inhaled a big amount of air, wind style, vacuum wave. Danzo then spun in his spot, as he spat out a blade of wind, which caused every clone to puff away. Naruto looked at his arm once more and just saw that another one of his eyes closed. "Just as I thought, if I continue like this, he'll eventually run out," the blonde thought. Danzo grabbed a kunai and added wind-like chakra to it, as it took on the look of a wind chakra blade again. Naruto grabbed his kunai and turned his into his own blade as well. They both charged at one another, and once they closed in on each other, they collided their blades together. They both glared at one another and kept swinging their blades against each other. "Just give up, demon," Danzo said, as he swung his blade again just to end up colliding against Naruto's blade. "Shut up," Naruto shouted, as he kicked Danzo in the gut, which let his guard down. Naruto quickly took his chance and swung his blade vertically, but before he got him, he was blocked. The blonde saw that it was Ayame with her sword. "Ayame, move," Naruto yelled. "No, you need to leave or just turn yourself in before it gets any worse," the brunette suggested. Naruto's anger started to boil up further, as he swung his blade to cut both their blocks off. He quickly moved around Ayame and charged at Danzo. Quick on her feet though, Ayame quickly kicked the blonde's side and sent him back a few feet. Naruto looked at her with wide eyes filled with anger. "Stay out of this." "I'm sorry, Naruto," the brunette said, as she looked him in the eyes with her Sharingan. Several crows then flew all around the blonde, which he looked around remembering this happened before. Then in a quick second, the crows flew down at the boy in fast speed, as they turned into shurikens. "Not this again," Naruto clapped his hands together. "Release." However, it didn't turn out like he hoped, as the shurikens impaled him all over his body. Blood leaked out of all the places he was hit along with his mouth. Damn it, why isn't it working?" The blonde then fell to one knee, as the sharp pain all over his body began to get worse, as he closed his eyes for a second. "Naruto, snap out of it." The blonde opened his eyes to see Ayame and Danzo still in front of him, but they were looking at something else. He also felt no pain at all, as his gaze then looked to his left to see Konan with her hand on his shoulder along with Pain and the other bodies of him. "Are you okay, Naruto?" the main Pain asked. Naruto shook his head to clear his mind. Why yeah. Why are you here though? We came to help you. Konan replied. I see. This time I'm actually glad you're here for once. Naruto said. Konan smiled. Good. The blue-haired woman then looked over at Ayame. I'll take care of her. I'll take care of this village while you take care of Danzo, Naruto. Pain said, as him and the other Pain scattered. No. Everyone turned to see Lee's sudden outburst and that the rest of the Konoha 12 have finally woke up. We can't allow him to destroy the village. Lee's right, we need to go stop them. Neji said. Right, let's split up. Shikamaru said, as him and everyone else scattered after the 6 paths of pain. The medics retreated back and went looking for more injured to attend to. Naruto and Konan turned their attention back at Ayame along with Danzo. Naruto, be careful. Danzo is no man to take easily. I know. I figured that out by all the Sharingan eyes he has over his arm. When this is over, you and I need to talk. Konan said, as she smirked. I don't know. It depends if I feel like it. Naruto replied. Ayame's body jumped slightly. Who are you? And why are you with Naruto? Konan kept her eyes on the brunette. I'm Konan and I'm here to help Naruto herein. The blue-haired woman looked at the blonde, as Naruto looked at her as well. Ayame looked closely and could see Konan whispering something to him. But then her eyes widened after what happened next. She just saw Konan kiss Naruto right on his lips and that Naruto was enjoying it. Ayame's anger kicked in, as she charged after the blue-haired woman. Konan slowly broke the kiss and smiled, as she took off trying to find somewhere else to fight the raging brunette. Naruto looked back to realize that Ayame has completely left to go chase after Konan and then looked back over at Danzo. He saw that another eye of his had just shut. He's just about to run out. Danzo placed his hands flat on the ground, Earth-style, sphere of graves. Danzo then lifted his hands up along with a huge boulder and threw it at the blonde. Naruto quickly summoned a clone, which had formed a Rasengan in the real Naruto's hand. The clone puffed away and Naruto jumped toward the boulder and slammed his Rasengan on it, which shattered it into chunks of it. He ended up on the other side of what used to be the boulder, as Danzo took this chance and charged at a vulnerable Naruto. The blonde looked down at Danzo with his wind-like blade coming at him. He quickly shot himself down to the ground and just when he did, Danzo started to swing his blade continuously at him. Naruto kept dodging them for now, until he came to a stop since a pile of rubble blocking him from backing up any further stopped him. It's over, demon. Danzo yelled, as he swung his blade at him. Elsewhere, Konan finally came to a better area, which was a thin alleyway. She then looked back to see Ayame catching up. I think she's a bit too jealous. The blue-haired woman thought. The brunette jumped up with her sword in her hand. Give Naruto back to us. She yelled, as she swung her sword down at Konan. Konan easily sidestepped to avoid the swing. What do you mean give him back? He came to us on his free will. Not to mention, he simply enjoys being with us too. Shut up. Ayame swung her sword again. Konan easily dodged it again. Didn't he tell you that he doesn't want to come back? Why do you keep trying to get him back? Ayame's face reddened a bit. Because everyone misses him. That might be it, but are you sure there isn't something else? Ayame reddened even more and shook her head, as she jumped back performing a few hand signs, fire style, grand fireball jutsu. The brunette shot an enormous fireball toward the blue-haired woman. The poor girl doesn't want to even say it. Konan thought, as paper-like wings formed on her back and flew up to avoid it. She flapped her wings down at the brunette, as several explosive paper sheets shot down at her. Ayame quickly went through a series of signs, lightning style, lightning wave. She swung her arms apart, which sent a wave of electricity at the explosive tags. Once it struck them, they all blew up before getting any closer to her. So you have fire and lightning elements, not to mention you also possess the Sharingan. This might be a problem after all. Konan said out loud. Ayame chuckled a bit and performed a few hand signs, water style, giant bullet ball. The brunette shot a massive bullet-like ball towards the origami mistress. You were close. Ayame replied. Konan shot a few explosive tags at the bullet and quickly activated them when they got close, which caused it to depart, as it began to rain slightly from it. Konan dove down at the brunette, as Ayame prepared to strike at her. Konan then halted herself in front of her, as Ayame swung her sword at her, which caused Konan to blow up. Ayame was sent flying due to the explosion. It was an explosive clone? The brunette thought, as she was sent crashing into the wall. The blue-haired woman reappeared back in the air. It's hard to believe Naruto-kun was having problems with you if that's all you got. Ayame jumped out from the wall and appeared right behind Konan. I may not be at my full potential, but I can show you a little of what I'm capable of. The brunette smirked and lifted her left leg up high and slammed it down on the origami mistress's head before she could turn around. Ayame then landed back on the ground and looked at the crater in front of her to see Konan getting up. Since she can't do quite much in her current condition, I guess I can have a little fun with her. Konan thought. Just give Naruto back to us. Ayame continued. Konan sighed. I already told you he doesn't want to go back. Plus, why would he? What do you mean? I mean, why would he want to come back to this village when he already has what he wants? Ayame jumped slightly, hoping what she was thinking wasn't true. You. Konan grinned. Yep, he has me, and after all, that one night when I first met him and allowed him to sleep with me since we had no other room for him. He sure has a lot of stamina, if you catch my drift. Ayame's face was completely red from thinking of what it was like and seeing how it was Konan and not her. Why, you whore. The brunette carelessly charged at her without having her guard up. Konan smirked, seeing how her little taunt worked. Not to mention, the way I rode him, he was completely lost since I practically had control of him for the whole time. The look he had on his face looked like a lost of words since all I could hear him do was moan my name. Ayame swung her sword continuously at the blue-haired woman, which she easily dodged every swing of them. You shouldn't have been his first. That was supposed to be me. The brunette yelled. It was his first time? Ah, that makes it even better since he lost his virginity to a real woman. Ayame was just about to explode, as she jumped back and performed a series of signs, lightning style, lightning senbon. Ayame swung her arm, as several lightning-like needle shapes shot out at her. Shikigami dance. Konan flapped her wings, as a giant paper-like tornado was shot towards the brunette. The lightning senbons collided with it for it to only add onto the tornado of paper, as it now had a lightning effect with it. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Ayame shot another fireball at the tornado, but it too added onto the tornado. What the hell? Ayame quickly jumped to the side, as the tornado passed right by her. She looked back at Konan, which she had a paper-like spear in her hand. Goodbye. The blue-haired woman said, as she threw the spear. Ayame added fire to her sword, which it was now completely covered in fire, as she swung it at the spear, which burned the spear into ashes. So she can add any element to her sword. This might be harder than I thought. Konan thought. Ayame threw her sword into the ground, while Konan watched, wondering what she was up to. Ayame went through a few signs, lightning style, lightning stream. Electricity started to cover the ground where her sword was planted and in front of it. After a mere second, lightning started to shoot up at Konan in multiple strikes. She flew through the air avoiding the lightning strikes, but her next dodge ended up taking a hit on both of her wings, which caused them to shatter into several sheets of paper. She then was forced to fall back down to the ground, but she slowed down her fall and landed on her feet. Konan held her arm up, as several paper butterflies flew at the brunette. Ayame easily spun herself, allowing them to fly right by her. Is that really it? Why don't you find out? A voice came from behind her. She turned around to see another Konan, but it turned out those butterflies took a form of her body and then exploded, which sent Ayame flying. Konan's wings formed once again, Shikigami dance. She flapped her wings once and sent another tornado of papers at her. Ayame was hopeless in her current situation, as she was engulfed by the tornado. Once she was sent to the very top of it, the tornado faded, as her body fell to the ground. Konan walked to the brunette and looked down at her to realize that she was unconscious. Looks like my end is done. I should go check on Naruto. The blue-haired woman said to herself, as she turned around and walked away from the unconscious brunette. Elsewhere, the main pain was standing still, as he examined the place he was at. It was an open area with a couple of buildings still up, and the rest was just a bunch of rubble all piled up everywhere. Pain looked to his right and saw Neji and Lee approaching him. What do you two plan on doing? Do you honestly think you can stop me? I'll show you what the power of youth can really do. Lee shouted. Lee don't. However, the reckless bushy-brow boy charged in after Pain. What a joke. Pain said, as he held his arm up with the palm of his hand facing them. Lee's feet came off the ground and was then forced to come toward Pain even faster. What the? Lee said, as Pain slid a chakra rod out from his sleeve. Just before he was about to impale Lee with it, Neji came from the side, quickly grabbing it and crushing it in half. Pain jumped back a bit, keeping his distance from the two, and just watched them. You need to think first before acting, Lee, Neji mentioned. I'll just let them near me and just take them both out at the same time. Pain thought. When he looked at the two, he saw that they were both charging at him. When they were halfway to him, they split from different sides. Now, Neji shouted, as both him and Lee prepared their attack. Almighty push. The gravity around Pain shot out, pushing the two far away and whatever else was near him in a 50-yard radius. After the disaster from it, he looked around and saw that the two of them were buried in a destroyed building. Now to check on Naruto. Back with Naruto. Naruto stood where he was, breathing heavily along with Danzo. The two just couldn't find any good times to end one another. Naruto looked at his arm and saw that he has only one eye left. You're just about done for Danzo, the blonde mentioned. Danzo just remained where he was and smirked. We'll see the outcome of this soon, boy. Naruto. The blonde turned around to see both Konan and the main Pain. What are you two? Naruto, you need to come with us. I'm going to completely destroy this village in a single blow. Pain said. Gee, go ahead, I'll catch up with you two in a minute. The blonde said, as he turned back to face Danzo. Fine, but you better hurry. Pain said, as him and Konan escaped the village, while the other bodies of Pain did as well, escaping their fights they were having with the shinobi that stood up against them. You foolish boy, you should have gone with them. You won't be able to escape from me. Naruto chuckled. We'll see about that. Naruto then charged at him with his chakra blade out. Danzo grinned, as the blonde came closer and closer to him. Naruto took his final step and held his blade up. It's over. However, Naruto came to a halt. He tried to swing his blade down, but his body wasn't moving whatsoever. The blonde's body then had sealing marks appearing all over his body. What is this? Danzo began to laugh. That would be the curse seal I placed on you a while ago. He must mean when he grabbed my neck and slammed me into the ground. The blonde thought. The seal keeps you paralyzed for a temporary time. Which means this is it for you, boy. Outside the village. Where's Naruto? Konan asked. I don't know, he's taking too long. I need to act now before my plan gets countered. Pain said. No, he's still in there. Konan shouted. I'm sorry, Konan. Pain said, as he vanished. Konan attempted to go run after him, but the other bodies of Pain held her back. Pain reappeared above the entire village and looked down to see if he could find Naruto. He examined closely and finally found the blonde, but he could see that he was hopeless since he was under a curse seal. However, he looked closer and saw that Naruto was looking up at Pain with his eyes and saw that Naruto wanted him to cast his jutsu before it would be too late. Pain sighed. I'm sorry, Naruto. Pain lifted his arms up in the air. Almighty push. He swung his arms down, as the gravity shot down in an incredible force at the village. Back with Naruto. It's over, boy. Danzo yelled. Naruto closed his eyes and chuckled. I'm afraid you're close. It's actually over for the both of us. Before Danzo could finish, the gravity from above came slamming down on the two, causing a massive destruction all over the village. With Pain, the main Pain reappeared back outside the village where his other bodies are along with Konan. The blue-haired woman grabbed him by the collar. We're going back in there to find him. She said. Yes, I was planning on it, and once we find him, we're leaving. Fine, let's go then, Pain said, as they all went back in the village. With Naruto and Danzo. Where Naruto and Danzo once were, was completely gone. It was now a complete disaster. The blonde was lying on the ground with a few pipes that had impaled him. One went through his gut, another through his right shoulder. One went through both of his thighs, and another one that went through his chest, which barely missed his heart. The poor boy was completely covered in blood and lying in a puddle of his own blood. However, he was still alive for now. He coughed up some blood and slowly lifted his head up and looked around. He gave himself a small smile. Looks like Danzo's gone after all. He laid his head back down and closed his eyes. That's where you're wrong, boy. Naruto's eyes shot open and saw Danzo standing above him breathing heavily. But Naruto looked at his arm and saw that all of his eyes were closed. He then looked Danzo in the eyes and saw that he still had his Sharingan activated. This fight's over demon. Danzo grabbed a kunai that was lying on the ground and added little chakra that he had left over into it, as it took on the wind like blade once again. Naruto's eyes began to close on their own, but he kept trying to keep them open. Looks like I failed once again. The blonde's vision was becoming blurry, but he managed to see Danzo with a rod through his stomach and heard Konan's voice call his name out. That was when the blonde's eyes finally closed and remained shut. Naruto! Konan shouted again, as she ran to his side. Danzo looked down at the rod that had impaled him and looked behind him to see Pain standing there with the other bodies as well. It's over, Danzo. Pain said, as he quickly pulled the rod out. Danzo fell to his knees, while Pain and his other bodies went over to Konan. However, Danzo staggered toward them. No. He then coughed up blood. Konan, Pain, and the other Pains looked over at him. It's not over. For the sake of the Leaf Village, I will bring you all with me to the grave. Danzo grabbed the middle of his robe and yanked it in separate directions to reveal 4 symbols on his body, which then shot out in 4 corners around him. Pain and Konan went wide-eyed, as Pain quickly removed the pipes out of Naruto. Konan, we need to get away from him quick. Pain yelled, as he grabbed the blonde and placed him over his shoulder. Danzo watched them. Even I couldn't keep up with you, Hiruzen. I couldn't even live to protect the village properly. Danzo then watched as they all began their retreat out of the village. The 4 symbols then shot out, as a giant sphere that expanded out 100 yards engulfed Danzo and whoever was within it. Outside the village, Pain and the rest of the group appeared where they once were before he performed his jutsu upon the village. They all looked back, except Naruto since he's out, to see the giant sphere. Good thing we got out of there on time. Pain said. He turned his gaze to Konan to see that she was sitting on her knees next to the blonde with a hurt expression on her face. Nagato, we need to get him back to base and let him recover. I'm aware of that. Pain pulled out a teleporting sheet, as did Konan. Pain stood close to his other bodies, while Konan remained next to Naruto, as they all vanished within a flash.
That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and do comments.